So Nitro 142, also June 1st, 1998.
Before we begin, can I remind us that when Nitro went off the air last week, the Red and Black had given Sting a shirt, and he was about to do something, and they went off the air.
Right.
Did we have a recap of what happened?
No. All we had was, throughout the show, apparently Thunder ended the exact same way. With Sting holding a black and red t-shirt and conflicted. So they opened with a video showing the many faces of Sting over the years.
Mike Tenay said, "The future of professional wrestling hangs in the balance," regarding Sting and a t-shirt.
Say it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. WCW's video packages are garbage.
Pretty much.
They're
This is better than many, but it's
stuck in the 80s is what they are.
This is high school level at best.
Yeah, no, I know. You're right.
They're barely better than we watched those 86 shows, 87 shows. Those videos are better. Was this any better or worse than that Ric Flair video we've seen 9,000 times?
It may have been exactly the same.
It was exactly the
Sting instead
same.
of Ric Flair. A limousine arrived, and J.J. Dillon got out, followed by Dallas Page, Booker T, and Goldberg.
What a crew. That's Team WCW.
You know what? That is a better Team WCW than I would have thought of before the show.
That's true.
They have 3 solid guys. Had clips from Thunder of Lex Luger trying to recruit Sting into the Wolfpack.
Wasn't it funny that we just watched an NWA show and Luger cut a great promo, and then here he was cutting another great promo? I think we've seen
10 years later.
We've seen so many bad promos in 2017 that Lex Luger is all of a sudden like a good promo.
I buy that.
This was not his reputation.
No.
High standards.
Standards have, in fact, slipped in the era of 20-minute, badly written scripts. Jerry Flynn versus Ernest Miller.
Speaking of bad.
I could not believe they opened with this.
They had
Like, I was into the show until these two guys came out, and I was immediately, like, mentally done with it.
This is basically the worst UWFI match you ever saw here on Nitro. As long as they stuck to chops and kicks, judo throws, it was okay. But then they tried to, like, run the ropes, and disaster. It went way too long. Cat won with a missed kick. Am I wrong on that?
No. You know what's funny is there was that famous Benoit Regal match at the Pillman Memorial Show.
Yes.
Where they went like 20 minutes and it was unbelievable and they never hit the ropes once.
Yep.
Why did these guys even have to hit the ropes?
I don't know.
Like, no one could just say, go in there and have a fake MMA fight and just get out of there. Like, why do you have to do pro wrestling if you can't?
The Wolfpack arrived in their own limo.
Fans went crazy.
Larry was blown away by the cheers for these people.
Yeah, keep in mind, at the end of last week's show and at the beginning of this week's show, the announcers are still pro WCW, and they can't understand why anybody would be cheering for the NWO Black and Red.
Yeah. Wolfpack came out to their new song.
So dope.
It was awesome. Till the 18th time I heard it on this show.
Shivani openly demanded all the announcers shut up and listen to the song.
He did. He's like, hey, they got new music. Let's all be quiet and listen to it. I was like, did they do that when the NWO first debuted?
No, they
like,
did
hey,
not.
these guys got cool music. Let's listen. Then we'll do commentary.
So I love that all these guys come out and they've all got the black and red shirts on and they've all got custom gear like Nash and Savage. And then there's Rick Rude who's still just wearing a brown suit.
Fine with me. He was the best guy on the show.
So Nash did a survey. Lex tried to recruit Sting. Here's where it hit me, by the way. Why does everyone want Sting on their team? He got like one win in 2 years, and his title reign was a disaster.
Well, on paper, he's the best.
No, actually.
But in
on
real
paper,
life,
it says LLLL.
It is baffling.
So, let's see. So Luger's running his mouth for a while, talking about how great it is to be part of the Wolfpack. He says, we've all been in the limo. And he looks at Nash. He says, we were having fun in the back of the limo. And then he turns and he looks at Liz. And then everyone else turns and they all look at Liz. And then Savage looks around at everyone turning and looking. He looks at what they're looking at. He looks at Liz and he pauses and he pats Lex on the back. What the hell was that? That was so creepy. That was really, really, really creepy. So, Luger referred to Hogan as limousine riding and jet flying here with Ric Flair and Limbo.
Right.
They went on and on and on and on and on, and finally Luger and Nash challenged Giant and Hogan to a match. clips of Bret Hart on Thunder trying to recruit Sting. Raven and Saturn versus Public Enemy.
May I?
Please.
This fucking match was so... I mean, he's already laughing. This was the worst fucking match I've ever seen in my life. So, first off, Raven comes out with his geeks in their...
The Riot Squad.
Riot Squad outfit. And apparently it was not a symbolic firing. Raven actually fired the flock to get Saturn back. So they're a team now. So, they're a team... And Raven's still not getting along with the guy. He's trying to command him. Saturn's not happy about it. So then this fucking match starts. It's heat on Saturn. It's absolutely the sloppiest thing you've ever seen. He starts making his own comeback, and it's totally sloppy.
Who decided to do Raven and Saturn versus the Public Enemy in an all-in-the-ring, no weapons, just wrestling match?
Raven gets a blind tag, accidentally hits Saturn, which also they fucked that spot up. Raven and Saturn go face-to-face. Public Enemy takes them out with a mistimed clothesline. Rocco hits a flip dive on both of them. Hits Saturn with their finish, which is a drive-by, but for reasons unknown, they don't pin the guy. They decide, well, we could win, but we gotta put Raven through this fucking table. So Raven's on a table, and of course, it's WCW, so instead of getting just like a real cheap table that's gonna break, they get a table that you'd see at like one of those 1950s schools where they took apart a World War II submarine to make the frame for it and they got oak on top. This fucking thing does not break, and Raven is just smashed by this Rocco Rock. Rocco goes down, and I guess Raven told him, do it again. So we just gotta stop the match because we gotta get our fucking shit in here. Raven stays on the table, which is collapsed, the legs collapsed, by the way. Rocco goes back in. He does it again. Saturn runs Grunge into a chair that Rocco is holding. Raven gets the pin. At least the disaster of a match is over. But there's more. Saturn is angry because Raven stole the pin. That's what they wrote down on paper. But what they did in real life was Saturn hits his move and then he just stops the match. And he turns around, and he walks to the ropes, and he raises his hand, and he starts celebrating like the match is over, like seconds go by. And then Raven jumps on top and pins this guy. Now Saturn is all of a sudden mad. So, Raven's upset. A fucking train wreck of a match, that's not the only reason. He's upset now that Canyon has been rehired. And he explains, I got these security guys to keep myself safe. And to keep you safe, Saturn, I've rehired the flock. Saturn's angry, even though they just got back together. The flock is out here. He signed Saturn to face Canyon at the Great American Bash. Saturn is not happy. And do you know what I got out of all of this? Besides the fact that it was absolutely terrible television and a horrible match. Raven is trying so hard to be in ECW, but he's in WCW.
Right.
That's the whole story of his career in this company. He can't accept that he's in this shithole. He's trying so hard to bring the magic of ECW to this company. And it's a disaster.
Public Enemy is so bad.
They're horrible.
That even their table blew spots.
That's true.
They're so
Greg. I like that.
bad.
Yeah, this is very, very terrible. I had kind of the same thought about Raven, because his two biggest flunkies in ECW were goofballs and Stevie Richards and the Blue Meanie.
Yes.
And he's trying to make all his flunkies goofballs here too. He's trying to do the same shit. We had clips of geeks from Arkansas watching Nitro.
It's like, you know what it's like? It's like when you go to Vegas. You know this, Vinny. And like the first day you're all gung-ho and you're like, man, I'm going to drink on the plane. And then like right when I get off the plane, I'm going to drink. Yeah. And then I'm going to go gamble and I'm going to go party and I'm going to ruin this town. And then by like day 3, you're a broken mess.
Yes.
And it's like you tried to fight Vegas and you're just never going to win. That's exactly what's happening with Raven. He's like, I hate it here. I'm making a lot of money. This place sucks, but I'm going to make this work. and he's trying so hard, and it's a losing battle.
He's learning the stuff that works in front of drunk adults in the Philadelphia bingo hall does not work in front of national TV.
In Georgia.
Or wherever they were.
First time I went to Vegas, the wife and I stayed out till about 3 o'clock in the morning, gambling and imbibing and having a great time. Day 2, we were in bed by 10:30 and ordered a pizza.
Yep. It will own you. Vegas never loses.
You fly into Vegas and you just look out and you just see the strip and all the hotels, and you're like, man, I'm going to have the run of this place. And then like 4 days later, you're taking off and you're looking down and it's like,
I'm never coming here again.
It just keeps going. It never shuts down. It just keeps going, and you're a victim.
You're flying out, defeated, broken.
Yes.
Miserable, and not miserable, but defeated and broken for sure. And then you watch another plane going down, and you think, someone on that plane is thinking the same thing I thought 4 days ago.
Exactly. You're in the line. Like, when you get there, there's the big line for the taxis, and everybody's so excited. They're getting their taxi to go to town. Mm-hmm. And then, when you're coming to go home, you see that same line of people, and they're so excited, and you're just like, you guys are so stupid. You just turn around right now.
Don't you know what you're in for?
Just go home.
We're going to Vegas in August, and I can't wait.
I can't wait either, but I'm going to be leaving thinking the same thing.
I know, but I love it. Alex Wright and Chavo Guerrero Jr. doing this match. It's a wrestling match, and 2 minutes in, Chavo snaps. He takes him down and lays him in the ground and pound. Has to be pulled off. And like a minute later, Alex puts him in an STF. Chavo could not tap out fast enough.
What?
It's true.
Why?
I don't know. Especially...
Why are you talking about what happened next?
Well, Eddie comes out because after tapping out, Chavo pops up to his feet and wants to fight more.
I think that's why, theoretically, he wanted to tap out quickly so he could get back on the offense on this guy. He didn't care.
Did he think it was a best of 3 falls match?
It doesn't work like that.
I understand that, but I think
those aren't the rules.
I think in storyline, he wanted to get out of this move quickly so he could start.
Is he a kickboxer who's trying MMA and figures if he taps out, everyone will think the other guy's a pussy?
Again, I didn't write this. It's just what I got out of this.
So Eddie tries to make peace between Chavo and Alex. Alex just disappeared. Eddie cuts a promo saying, Chavo, I just talked to the whole family, your dad, my brothers, grandma. Everyone's very proud of you and the change you've made. We don't have to wrestle anymore. Chavo says, no. Eddie, you're my idol. I want to wrestle you so I can learn. And Eddie is still trying to get out of the match. He still thinks it's a horrible idea.
Why? Why is Eddie scared of Chavo? He just tapped out in a split second to Alex Wright, the dancing Nitro girl.
I guess...
This is so stupid.
I guess the idea is that crazy is scarier than Goldberg. I don't know.
Well, it is until you just lose.
I don't know. But Eddie wants out of the match until the moment Chavo says, and Eddie, I think I can even beat you. And Eddie throws in the brakes. He's like, okay, part of me is afraid to fight this guy.
That's when the shit went down.
Part of me wants to teach this fucker a lesson. He was conflicted, he didn't know what to do, and he just left the ring. Now, if the idea is that Chavo is dangerous and Eddie's afraid to fight him, and Alex is not on the pay-per-view, why did he not just beat Alex here? I don't know. We've established how stupid this was. Tony Schiavone's in the ring. He introduces Rainey Savage. Roddy Piper's music plays. There's
Remember
a pause.
last week I thought this was so great? It wasn't so great that they needed to replay it.
This was new.
It was the same thing.
No, this may have been worse, actually.
It was worse because they played Piper's music first.
Yeah.
And then Savage came out, and then guess what?
Then they played the Wolfpack theme.
Piper came out.
And then Piper came out anyway. So they're yelling at each other and arguing back and forth how they can't trust each other. And Savage wants a singles match after the tag match. I thought that was already established. This goes on forever and ever and ever. And Savage, the ending of this, and I'm not making this up, this is word for word. He didn't give a damn about Bret Hart's shirt. He didn't give a damn about Bret Hart's underwear. And he left. I'm not making that up.
Well, I don't either.
Schiavone interviewed Dylan. Dylan vowed loyalty to Sting.
He made a plea for Sting, and he's promising him all this stuff and this support and everything like that, but he does say, I can't promise that you will go to Hollywood and be a big A-list movie star like Hulk Hogan. He said that.
Yes. He was a horrible pitch man.
He's terrible.
Before I convince you to join my side, let me point out to you how great the other offer is. The NWO Black and White arrive.
You know, I hate this every single week, but at least it was different this time. There was a point.
By the end, there was a point. It took him a long time to get there. And by that, I mean it took him a long time to get from the limo to the ring. Then the music played. Nitro, I don't know if you guys ever had this problem. I never have it with Raw, only with the Retro Nitro. Things just freeze. It looks like it's buffering, but there's no little spinning circle.
Never have that problem.
I can't think. There's like the 10-second and 10 rewind and fast forward buttons. Those don't work, and I like reload things. It's a pain in the ass. So I was going through all of this, and I finally got it working again. And then I watched him do this entrance for 5 minutes. So Hogan makes a pitch for Sting. Oh, Lex and Kevin Nash had challenged Hogan and Giant to a match tonight. Hogan accepted here. And then Hogan said he has faith in Bret Hart.
It's his partner.
Yeah. And Piper had said Bret Hart never wore an NWO shirt. And so Bret unbuttons his shirt here, his overshirt, to show a Hulk Hogan t-shirt. This proves his loyalty, he says. Hogan's convinced. He runs his mouth for a while. But yes, he still has not worn, Bret has not worn an NWO shirt. He's clearly fucking with Hogan. He has a plan in mind.
Get close to that title.
He's still willing to beat the hell out of Randy Savage and Roddy Piper first. So he's still kind of a dick.
I don't know, it might have just been me, but when Hogan was cutting his promo, Bret looked completely bored.
Well, usually. His whole WCW run is...
It's hard not to.
Actually, it was, when they were in the ring later, it was an even better example.
Yeah.
Conan versus Lenny Lane. This was a man wrestling himself.
It's true.
Lenny stood there as Conan circled him doing holds, and then Lenny sat there as Conan circled him doing holds. They kept trading cradles. Lenny did the worst La Magistral ever. And then Conan won with a cradle DDT and Tequila Sunrise.
I don't know how he's not getting over with his ab shine.
Absolution. Yeah. Shivani brought Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude out for a promo.
Abhorrent. That's what I call his segments.
They reminded us Hennig had a U.S. title shot against Goldberg at the Great American Bash. Made some jokes about how they were not able to say the word perfect. Then Hennig's out there in crutches, by the way. He says, look, in preparation for this match against Goldberg, I have been working out with Brad Rangans and Don Fry.
And Brian Johnston.
And I have suffered a twisted knee. We need Conan out here, they say. They bring Conan out. They say, Conan, J.J. Dillon has booked me in Mickey Mouse towns all over the U.S. against Goldberg. Clearly a conspiracy to wear me down before the bash. I need you to fight in those towns for me. Conan had nothing to worry about, or told them they had nothing to worry about. So they take care of it because he was Bowdy and Rowdy. Hennig promised to face Goldberg at the bash and said by the time he was done, they'd be calling him Bill Gold Turd.
Rick Rude saved this segment here. Rick Rude was so awesome. Rick Rude spoke and you just listened because you were afraid if you didn't, he was going to catch you and you'd get in big trouble.
True.
He'd beat your ass. He's so great. And he called him Wee Willie. And it's like, no man could get away with calling Goldberg Wee Willie except Rick Rude.
Except Ravishing Rick Rude.
Yeah.
Eddie Guerrero versus Fit Finley.
This was a great match until
This was so great for 2.5 minutes.
Gosh.
Finley hit the best body slam of all time.
Right?
And Sting body slammed the Giant later. He grabbed Eddie. He threw him up for this body slam so high that had he let go, Eddie was just flown upside down up to the ceiling. Finley had to grab him and hold him down to earth.
He had him straight up and down for a body slam.
And still going up.
Yeah, he would have spiked him.
Yeah.
If he hadn't have turned. Awesome.
So eventually... Oh, there's more. This was so awesome that even when they fucked stuff up, it was still awesome. Finley goes to whip Eddie in, and you can tell from the way Finley's standing and his arms out that he wanted Eddie to reverse him. And Eddie doesn't. Eddie just keeps running. So now Eddie's hitting the ropes. Neither guy's got any idea what's going on. Eddie comes off, just hooks a sleeper. Finley transitioned it into a fireman's carry slam, and they just keep going. It was beautiful. And then, out of nowhere, Chavo hits the ring, doesn't attack anyone, doesn't lay a finger on anyone. Keep all this in mind. The ref says, hey, Chavo's in the ring. Here's a DQ. Match is over now. Chavo begs Eddie to hit him. Eddie wants nothing to do with this. Finley's all too happy to take the win. They were in Washington, D.C. this that's right.
This was so great. You know what's so great about this? I thought this was like 1,000 times better than any of those goofy DX Invasion skits. Like 1,000 times better. Last week, J.J. Dillon said, Jericho, if you want me to overturn this decision where Dean Malenco dressed up as Cyclope, won the Battle Royal, and then got a match with you and won the title. If you can find precedent to a match being overturned on these grounds, I will reverse the decision. So Chris Jericho has gone to Washington, D.C., where his plan is to speak to Bill Clinton, apparently.
that was one plan.
He's going to talk to the President of the United States.
I believe he actually approached all three branches of the government. Legislative, judicial, and presidential.
Yep.
He tried to get a meeting with the Supreme Court. He tried to get into the White House. He was rebuffed in these efforts. He was standing with all the other whack job protesters that have always been in D.C. for the past 100 years, waving signs of whatever cause they have. His just said conspiracy victim. Finally, he was allowed into the Library of Congress. And he's sitting on the floor, surrounded by books that are a foot thick each. Just going page by page by page, muttering to himself, "Where's the section on WCW title belts?"
You know, it's completely preposterous until I realized that I believe Death of WCW is in the Library of Congress.
If you could have found that book.
They've got like everything there.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that he found in some obscure Frank A. Gotch book exactly what he was looking for.
By the way, Jericho wearing a three-piece suit and his wacky hair.
The hair, yes.
Ponytail on top.
And scraggly beard. He's trying to look professional but still look like Jericho. Yes, this is very creative and very funny.
It was awesome.
Then he had to wrestle, which ordinarily is not terrible news.
But
it was Hoovy.
He had a really good day last week.
I remember that.
yes,
he had a very, very bad day.
Did he get all his hit spots? They were all last week and there was none left?
He botched a diving Hurricane Rana,
Almost killed himself.
whacked his head on the canvas.
Hoovy was so bad here that he got booed.
He botched a face buster. That's where he got booed. It was going to be the Kidman deal, but he took I don't even know what happened. It was a disaster. And then please explain this to me. They're doing this match. The ref is distracted. And a 7'2" man comes down the aisle. Reese from the flock. He gets in the ring and he kills Hoovy. And the announcers say, Reese has a personal vendetta against Hoovy.
They didn't care.
And I was like, who? What? What?
he has been attacking him for like 3 weeks straight.
Why?
I have no
What
idea.
is happening here?
Maybe he's mad because he's short.
I don't know.
There's a lot of guys he'd be beating up then, like everybody.
That's true.
Since he's the tallest guy in the
The
fucking
Giant would
roster.
qualify. Yeah. The only thing that you didn't touch on here was after all these blown spots, Jericho still allowed this guy to try a Hoovy driver. Gosh. I'd have called every audible on earth.
And he killed him with it.
Not
And it
only
went
that,
as bad as you would expect.
Hoovy did like the tope into a Hurricane Rana on the floor after he screwed all this up.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but after he hit the Hoovy driver, Jericho's immediately selling like just one part of his back. I don't know if Hoovy drove him onto his own foot when he
Possible.
sat with it. It looked horrible.
Yeah, this is bad.
You know what this was? Bad.
It was bad.
Just want to confirm the badness of this.
So bad. Highlights of Booker and Benoit from last week, and then on Thunder, and then on Saturday night. So Benoit was coming in tonight up 2-1 in the series. So we have Benoit and Booker T. It's one of those matches where they're wrestling for like 6 or 7 minutes, and you think, this is good, but it's on the special. And it's like 1 minute of awesomeness, and they do a finish. Last minute was great. And Booker makes his comeback, and the place is going nuts, and he tries a suplex, but Benoit cuts him off and locks in the crossface for the win. Now he's up 3-1. They re-aired the Sting video package, the same one that opened the show. Dallas Paige versus Scotty Riggs. Like 10 seconds in, Sick Boy comes off the middle rope and attacks Dallas Paige. This is not a DQ.
No.
Chavo got disqualified for stepping through the ropes.
Well, Vinny, I can believe this because you see sometimes in UFC when a ref stops a fight too early, he gets criticized, and next thing you know, he's stopping fights too late.
Interesting.
Yes.
So he's suggesting he was scolded backstage.
Yeah, he was like, why did you call it a DQ? The guy never touched anybody. So then he's like, oh, man, I need to do better next time. Now he's letting dudes beat the shit out of each other in front of him, and that's okay.
I can't believe you made that make sense.
Hey, I try my best.
That's astonishing. It didn't matter. Paige fought them both off. Diamond cutter both of them, won.
Bobby made sure to say he Riggs would keep an eye out for Dallas Page next time.
Yes. Heenan was great. Goldberg versus La Parka. So I had been told this was a 7-star match.
May not be given enough credit.
Parka comes out and he's La Parka. Then Goldberg comes out and he's Goldberg. And he gets in the ring and Parka is standing in a chair. He's got the chair set up and he's standing on it. And I think if he turns around and Goldberg spears him off this chair, this would be the best match I ever saw. That's not what they did, but what they did do is almost as good.
Now, we need to preface this by saying that we do not advocate hard chair shots to the head.
No.
And out of fairness, this was a plastic chair.
Yes.
But
Not
still.
quite as bad as a steel chair. We recommend against this. We do not condone this. It's a stupid idea. But it sure didn't work in this match. I don't know how else to say it.
So
It's the past.
here's the entire match.
19 years ago.
Here's the entire match. Parka is menacing Goldberg with the chair. Goldberg giggles, puts his belt down, leans forward, and points to his head. Parka hits him with the plastic chair as hard as he possibly can. Goldberg no-sells the thing entirely. He just snaps his head back and forth and snarls and roars. And Parka dances, but then turns around and Goldberg spears him to death, hits a jackhammer, pins him, looks into the camera and screams, "You can't hurt me!"
The best part of this actually was the replay. Again, we're not advocating chair shots to the head, but when Goldberg took the chair shot to the head and then got really, really fired up,
Oh, yeah.
here's some inside commentary here on this match. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but La Parka tore his ACL in this match.
Oh.
Taking a spear.
I read that as well.
Now, I rewound it multiple times to watch it. I have no earthly idea how he tore his ACL in this match. His knee did not get twisted. He did not fall down in a weird way. He took a perfectly fine spear and flat back bump. But Goldberg hit him, I guess, with such velocity that he separated his A from his CL. This match was astounding. And actually, to recap what I've said for 3 weeks now, Goldberg is a delight. Go ahead.
He's the best. Main event of Hulk Hogan and Giant versus Kevin Nash and Lex Luger. First of all, Giant comes out and he and Stinger still the tag champs. So he is wearing both belts around his waist, one over the other, because he's the Giant.
I totally forgot about that.
That was a great gimmick, and he really should have just defended the belts by himself for a while. Why not? He could be Public Enemy a couple times or something. So the whole match was a house show match. Went about 5 minutes. Nash did his "I'm not scared" finger wiggle thing about 7,000 times. And then Hogan just attacked with a title belt for the DQ. Great main event.
It was a terrible match. Hogan and Luger doing spots together was appallingly bad. And yeah, Nash, what happened was, to recap the match a little better at least,
Really?
they're beating on Luger for a long time. Luger's trying to make the tag. This is very important, actually. This is very important. The whole idea of this match, as described earlier in the show, is the Wolfpack wants Sting to join them. The NWO Black and White also would like Sting to join them, right?
Yes.
Correct.
So Nash and Luger make a challenge to the NWO to have a match, and they vow to show Sting why he should join the Wolfpack.
Sure.
Okay, so in this match, the Black and White cut off Luger, and they beat on him, and they beat on him, and they beat on him, and he's trying to tag, and he's trying to tag, and he can't, and he fails for so long that finally Nash just gets in the ring, and it goes to a DQ. So they proved nothing.
No.
The whole concept of the match was to prove that they were better than the NWO, and when the match was over, the NWO, the Black and White, was clearly better.
I'm pretty sure that Hogan said the same thing.
Yep.
And he was so desperate to impress Sting that he just grabbed a belt and started hitting guys for a DQ. If I were Sting, I'd have jumped ship immediately to Smoky Mountain or something. Just get out of here.
Well, that's not what happened.
Match was nothing but punch, kick, punch, kick. It was,
You're forgetting the long stretches of standing there doing nothing.
Gosh, it was boring.
So at this point, the crowd all gets to their feet. The announcers note they are in anticipation of something big going down.
Really?
Now
What would
that
that
the
be?
wrestling is over, we can get to the important stuff. Sting descends from the rafters. He removes his trench coat, to reveal the NWO black and white shirt. Everyone boos. Hogan gives him a big hug, but then Sting lays Hogan out with a clothesline. And then Sting grabs the Giant and gives him the easiest body slam you ever saw. Mm-hmm. It's one of the best body slam ever if Fit Finley hadn't destroyed all notions of what a body slam could be with Eddie Guerrero earlier.
Great.
And of course, Sting tears off the shirt, which gave him a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Sting's
Newfound respect for Hulk Hogan here.
Sting's got his black and white shirt with a black and red shirt underneath it. Mm-hmm. Both size triple XL. Maybe 5XL.
Well, you had to hide the harness.
Yeah.
They're so gigantic. And he's trying so hard to tear this shirt off, and it won't come off. And he won't just take the shirt off.
No.
He's got to tear it off.
Yes.
Time stood still. It's sad.
Hogan always pre-cut his shirts, see?
He had more experience. So the Wolfpack music plays. Everyone's happy. And all I could think at this point was, they've done more to get Sting over for leaving WCW
Right.
than they ever did as champion of WCW. He's a much bigger star right now.
This was the first time
And he's not even the biggest star in the group.
This is the first time after a main event on Nitro in months I had a smile on my face.
So does Sting.
This was great.
Sting was so happy. He smiled for the first time in 2 years.
Yes,
He's
I
all
wrote.
excited.
Yeah.
He's happy. And then, to bring it all full circle, the announcers are so excited that Sting has joined the Wolfpack, and they are talking about how the Wolfpack is the strongest organization in wrestling today.
Yeah.
The announcers finally jumped ship.
They did.
Even the announcers don't care about WCW anymore.
And then the best thing I've seen all time, all my life, the black and whites at ringside beside themselves. They don't know what to do. The Wolfpack's in the ring celebrating. And they play that song again, that new song that debuted at the start of the show, and Kevin Nash loses his mind. And he begins to dance. Mm-hmm. And he was not holding back. His hands are up on top of his head like wolf ears. He's kicking his legs from side to side. You've never seen Kevin Diesel. Diesel.
Oz.
Oz. Well, ironic.
Vegas.
Ironic you should bring up Oz because the visual I had was the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz dancing, but 7 feet tall.
Yep.
It was a sight to behold, let me tell you. So yeah, that was over, and I'm so happy for Sting, who's the pressure's off him now.
Yeah.
He has friends again.
He's finally got buddies.
Yes.
He's finally just... He's found a cool group of guys.
Yes.
Unlike these damn losers that
In
he's been
WCW.
defending for 2 years now.
Yes. So there you go.
This was an amazing show the more I think about it. This was a day WCW died.
Oh.
Everybody bailed on WCW. Sting bailed, the announcers bailed, the fans bailed. Nobody cared. What's that face for? Oh, no.
I just looked. Apparently, they're going to do a women's Money in the Bank match.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was talking about that today. Yep.
And then I looked at this.
Jim's going to be thrilled.
I looked at the picture here. I was almost certain they actually had pictures of Charlotte twice, but one of them is Carmella.
All you need to know, everybody, is I looked over at Vinny, and his face dropped, and I seriously thought that he was going to tell me that somebody had died. But instead,
No one died.
The women are having a Money in the Bank
It's
match.
not Nia Jackson paper.
Nobody died yet.
Nia Jax is in it?
I'm sorry, Tamina. Actually, that was an honest mistake.
Either way, Tamina's in it?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Oh. I hang my head.
Well, all right, Nitro.
This goddamn show.
Number 143.
Somebody, every now and then I read the thread. There's a thread on the board about the retro shows, and people mention things about the shows coming up, and maybe it was you. Sometimes you tweet something. I don't know who tweets me, but somebody had mentioned,
Thanks for noticing.
like, oh my God, the interviews on this show, or I'm so sick of the NWO interviews. Nobody could do justice. There were seven NWO/Wolfpack interviews on this show. Minimum.
Yeah.
I stopped counting at 7. There may have been like 15.
Which is ironic because there are only 7 matches on this show.
There were 7 matches and 7 interviews.
3 hours.
And it went on forever.
Yes. Now, on top of that, I'm pretty sure if you took the entire roster combined, there was more alcohol consumed before and during this episode of Nitro than during any of our Christmas shows.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of crew there, but...
There's a lot of crew, and most of them are very large and can hold the liquor. but there was a lot of drinking going on. It opened with earlier today with Mike Tenay in the parking lot interviewing dorks about Sting joining the NWO. They were stupid, dorky teenagers. They thought it was cool.
They were
just loved it.
They were quote unquote tailgating, and they were hovered over to hibachi with 4 burgers.
Sounds like a good tailgate party to me.
That was how big the grill was.
Hey, let me tell you
This is
something.
not the best tailgate I ever saw.
No.
I was at Fred Meyer the other day, and I bought a George Foreman grill. Remember the George Foreman grill?
I thought you had one.
Well, it's a long time ago. I don't know where it's at right now.
I see.
But I got the new, because I got a new one. You can buy the $29 one, or you can buy the $39 one where you can actually take the grill out to wash it.
Aha.
So it's like the grill plates detach.
Yes.
So, of course, I got the high-end one, $39.
That's how he rolls.
Yep, and
Top shelf.
I took this fucking thing home, and I'm like a cook now. Like, I totally forgotten. I don't know what happened in my life where I stopped using the George Foreman grill, because, like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. It's not like. Anyway, point is, I got the grill. I started cooking again. I don't say anything that's going to get me in trouble, but
I was thinking the same thing.
I started cooking again, and what do you think I was going to say?
Oh, it's not important.
No, tell me what you said.
Well, it's the most polite possible way to say this, so I don't want to get myself in trouble.
You thought that my wife would cook for me?
I think you thought your wife would cook for you.
No, I didn't. I honest to God didn't. Like, I never did, because we have different schedules anyway, so we eat at different times, and I don't like leftovers. So I've always cooked for myself.
Okay.
I don't know why I got rid of the grill. Maybe because I actually had like a good oven, and I could broil steaks and that sort of thing. But like the only thing I could cook was steak, or bacon and eggs, or, you get a pre-cooked thing that you can heat up in the microwave. So anyway, I went back to the days of my George Foreman grill, and this thing is awesome. I wish they'd have called me, because they called Hulk first, but he didn't pick up.
Right.
Then they got George Foreman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know 13-year-old Brian Alvarez?
Do you know that George Foreman made more money off his grill than in his entire boxing career?
I don't question that for a
Believe
second.
that
That's
100%.
fucking unbelievable.
I owned at least one.
I own 2 now. Whitney owned one in college.
Yeah.
I think everyone's owned one.
And I learned to cook.
I learned to cook too on this goddamn grill. I made burgers. I've made steaks. I've made chicken. It's awesome.
What does this have to do with anything?
I don't know.
You're talking about the
you're talking
tailgates?
about the kids tailgating, and
They should have had a Foreman grill.
Yeah, because I could get 4 burgers on my Foreman grill.
Don't make an extension cord that long.
Yeah. Maybe
Or a
it was
battery pack.
maybe that a battery pack.
Generator?
Or a generator, yeah. I love this grill.
These kids didn't drive here, let's be honest.
Anyway,
Their parents dropped them off.
these are the only fans Mike Tenay could talk to, and in hindsight, I have no idea why they bothered. So, we go to the arena. Nitro just started, everyone. It's just beginning. The NWO theme starts, then it stops, then the Wolfpack theme plays, and they come out.
First thing on the show.
You had one job.
Hey, listen.
Tony Schiavone.
This is better than last week when we had like that one horrible match. It was like Ernest Miller versus like Jerry Flynn or something like that.
Oh,
which
we
was
got some
hideous.
horrible matches.
Well, I mean, the first official match on the show was Yuji Nagata versus Jerry Flynn. So I think it's better they actually started out here with the Wolfpack.
So Tony Schiavone outright says, "Folks, we played the wrong music. This is why the crowd is not cheering as much as you might think." I swear to God he said that. That's not a quote, but it is very, very close. So this is the debut of Sting in his ridiculous all-red face paint.
Really? I didn't think it was that bad. Fit the gimmick.
I mean, it fit the gimmick, but
he was white, and now it's red because he's in the Wolfpack.
yes. Doesn't mean it look good. So let's see. They're in Detroit. It's Nash's hometown.
Can someone explain what looked bad about it? What didn't you like about it?
I thought he looked stupid with his face all red.
What do you think, Craig? Did he look like a clown?
You're certainly allowed to disagree
He
with
looked
me.
better with the white face paint.
I don't think it makes a goddamn bit of difference.
That's fine.
Okay.
Well, he was doing the crow gimmick, and the crow gimmick isn't red.
That's also true.
Huh.
I said it fit the gimmick. I
So
just said
now
it looked
he's a
stupid.
Robin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
That's fine.
Or he really bad cut himself shaving.
I don't think he shaved his hairline.
So Nash is cutting this promo. First of all, he says, "We're in his house."
He's such an idiot. Like,
In his offense, he was sloshed.
where did he get the reputation for being like a good talker? I was cringing through this whole segment. He's sitting there, He's got his goofy outfit on. He's got a fucking hat that says porn star on it.
This happened.
He's trying
In
to be...
multiple segments, Kevin Nash appeared on Nitro with a porn star hat.
Kevin Nash is trying to be Conan.
Yes.
Yeah,
Let's think about that for a second.
it doesn't work.
It didn't work at all.
No.
And it got worse later.
So he said his house, and Larry said, what did he say? So Nash says 5 years ago he thought about quitting wrestling, but Dallas Paige talked me out of it. And now Paige has to make a choice. He says, we took a vote to let Paige in, and the vote was almost unanimous. And he turns and looks at Randy Savage, and Randy shakes his head and shrugs, and Nash moves on. At least they acknowledge that Savage and Paige have been trying to kill each other just months ago, rather than just forgetting about it.
I like that he had to add that in his recruitment speech. You know, we'd like you here, but one guy wants to kick your ass.
One guy still thinks you suck.
So what do you think?
So Nash rambles on forever. Eventually his mic gets cut. We hear Hogan's voice saying it's time for the Wolfpack to get lost. Now either Nash cannot hear Hogan, which is quite possible, or Nash was so drunk he didn't process that Hogan's voice was in his head, which is also possible.
The bad thing is, in hour number 3, when they came out to cut another promo, he was more drunk.
Oh yeah.
Well, of course, you start drinking and you don't stop until the show's over.
He was so hammered he could barely keep his eyes open.
So the Black and White crew is up.
Can we talk about this crew? It's Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, Dennis Rodman,
Yes.
and Bret the Hitman Hart.
That is the crew.
That was the crew at this point.
One of these things is not like the other.
It expanded later.
I would
but-
argue no two of these things are like the other.
It's true.
So they're way up in the rafters where apparently this is where Nitro set up their pyro controls.
Skybox, I guess.
Rodman starts hitting buttons. Pyro goes off. The lights go down. The lights come back up. They still have the Wolfpack's mic cut off, so they're just sitting there fuming.
Do you know
Hogan's-
how much money it costs to do pyro?
Thousands.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
And they blew it up for nothing.
Yes. I don't know what Hogan
You
been
realize
doing.
Lanny Poffo had been under contract for 2 straight years now and hadn't paid or hadn't done a goddamn thing for that money?
They were literally blowing money.
They apparently have been partying all day. Hogan's
Yeah.
voice is already shot. And then Hogan says, for the second time, I guess another later he referenced going to a commercial. Both people on both shows said, let's go to a commercial now at some point during the night. But anyway, they went to commercial, and I thought, this is your top feud? Your angle for the top feud within the two top factions is we're flipping a light switch on and off? That's the best you can do?
Well, I hate to spoil it, but all of this bullshit on this show led to Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman versus DDP and Karl Malone,
Yes.
which was one of the biggest buy rates that they ever did.
Great.
So,
And you know what? It would have been one of the biggest buy rates without this stupid angle.
well, that's true.
And
But it didn't hurt it, is my point.
And it was here, by the way, when Hogan says, we're going into commercial now. So yes, Hogan and Triple H both calling the shots.
Yeah.
They go to break, and they come back. Conan is now interviewing J.J. Dillon. I didn't screw that up. Conan is interviewing J.J. Dillon.
This wouldn't surprise you if you ever listened to Conan on our show, where at one point he just stops and he starts interviewing us.
That's
He
true.
flips the script
every
time.
single time.
That is true. That is true. So Conan wants to know what J.J. Dillon's going to do about the black and white. Dillon says, swear to God, it's not my problem.
Yeah. That's what he said.
He's just surrendering. Nitro is now a show to be fought over between the two NWO factions. WCW doesn't care. That's the story.
May as well. No one cares about WCW.
Jerry Flynn versus Yuji Nagata.
What an opener. It was a match. It wasn't terrible.
No.
It was not exciting in the least.
Have I mentioned? I think I have. If I could redo the Monday Night Wars over, couldn't you at least take Steve Blackman and Jerry Flynn and make them a karate tag team? So they have two boring karate guys as a team in one segment instead of spread out over multiple segments on either show?
You could.
They could have sold a lot of those karate fighters.
They should.
You know, if you were coming up in this business and there was a wrestler named Jerry Lynn,
Right.
I mean, wouldn't you choose a different name?
Jerry Lang. Yes, they had a Jerry Lynn and a Jerry Flynn. Yes. Anyway, Yuji won with a Nagata lock, and we've spent way too much time on this match. Shivani interviewed Chris Jericho, who called him Skiavone.
This segment was so awesome. How many times do we talk about a heel should sometimes make a complete idiot of themselves.
Yes. This is a perfect example.
Jericho had no problem making himself out to be the biggest dumb shit in the history of wrestling.
Chris Jericho in this segment was stupider than the Road Warriors on Raw.
That's true.
So Jericho says, I have a certified letter from Ted Turner. This letter will vindicate me.
He hadn't opened the letter out of the manila envelope that it was mailed to him.
He was just so confident. Because
Yes.
why else would Ted Turner get a hold of him? So it starts off all very professional and nice. I enjoy fishing in your home country of Canada. Jane says hi. You're a great champion. And he gets to the part that says, however, he actually did say, Dean Malenko should not be Cruiserweight champion. However, your excessive whining and complaining has sickened me. So I must agree with WCW President J.J. Dillon in saying, tough luck, the decision stands, Dean Malenko will remain Cruiserweight champion.
I can believe Ted Turner saying all of that.
Sure.
Including tough luck.
Especially tough luck.
And what's funny is, not only in storyline did this dumbass not read the letter before he came out on national television, but when he got to the bad part, he kept going.
He just kept going.
He couldn't stop himself.
He got more and more about how ashamed Turner was to employ this man and what a fool Jericho was. He just kept reading out loud into a microphone.
This is going to turn around the next paragraph. I can feel it.
Yes.
Now, they could have done this. Here's what's weird. They could have scripted it where Jericho gives a manila envelope to Schiavone, and he says, read this. And I'm going to stand here, and I'm going to be so proud. And then, of course, it gets to the bad part, and then he wants him to stop, but Schiavone's having so much fun, he keeps reading. This was better.
Oh, yeah.
This was 1,000 times better.
Because Jericho, he's an idiot.
His character is there at this point to be laughed at.
Yes. He's an idiot, but he is also completely shameless.
Yes.
He is so outraged by what he's reading that it doesn't occur to him to protect his pride and stop.
Yep.
He must continue.
It was awesome.
Schiavone shows him no sympathy and then just throws it to break.
And I'm going to admit, I will flat out admit, when Chris Jericho first jumped to Raw in 1999, and everybody was talking about what a huge game changer it was, I didn't see it that big at the time. I look back now, and I see it. Now, granted, I've got 20 years of hindsight as to what Jericho actually became. Yes. But, man, oh, man, he was, aside from Goldberg, he was the best thing on this show.
You think?
Yeah. Now, Goldberg was better. Jericho better not deny that today. If he does, he needs to go back and watch more Goldberg.
And less of what we are about to talk about next. In 1,000 years, you could repeat this match over and over and over in perpetuity. It would never be any good.
Dude, this went 8 minutes.
No, it didn't.
It went 8 minutes and 4 seconds.
It went at least 20.
The four combatants. It was a tag team battle.
You got to talk about the teams, not just the combatants.
Oh, believe me, we'll break this down one at a time. Ron Reese, legit 7'2" or whatever, never been more than a TV jobber. Horace, a big oaf who has a job because he's Hulk Hogan's nephew.
Yep.
Van Hammer.
Well, first off, Horace and Reese are a team.
Horace and Reese are a team.
They're facing the team of
Van Hammer, who by this point had been around this company for like close to a decade. Never any good. And his partner, Juventud Guerrera.
It was Horace and Reese versus Hammer and Hoovy.
I just looked at it.
Television.
I just looked at this matchup and thought, what could any one of these men do with any of the other men that I'd actually want to watch? And I came up with nothing.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. Every single person was horrible, except Hoovy, who was okay for a little while there. It went on absolutely forever. They gave the hot tags to Reese and Hammer.
Yeah.
Hammer is a babyface. He performed the flat-out most awful comeback I may have ever seen in my life.
It was really bad.
It was so horrible. And then, in the middle of this, as he's making his comeback, he ends up outside. Hoovy tries a springboard, not the legal man, I might add, unless there was something I missed. And Reese gives him the tree slam and pins him. Which, by the way, as I noted earlier, this finish was done to set up Hoovy versus Reese at the pay-per-view.
In a singles.
In a singles match.
What is Reese's beef with Hoovy?
I don't know.
He's
I've been
small?
wondering that for months now.
He doesn't like small men?
But only this one small man.
Well, in the history of wrestling, they have done that angle many times. He doesn't like small men.
They're still doing it with Braun and Kalisto.
They're still doing it with the most powerful promoter in the world.
The only funny thing here was, well, there are lots of funny things. The only thing I will say that was good by design, Hoovy tried to Pescado onto Reese and Horace. Two men who probably legit outweigh him by 600 pounds.
That's
it didn't
fair.
work. It didn't work. So Hammer does a dive on all three of them, and then he went down. That spot was good. Everything else was beyond terrible. It went forever. It was never any good. I like Tenay saying, Reese probably outweighs Hoovy by 150 pounds.
Oh, yeah?
I spat. Could not believe my ears. Folks, I promise you Ron Reese will outweigh Hoovy by at least 300 pounds, probably a lot more.
What'll make Reese matches more enjoyable is if you watch them and you imagine that he is a giant hornswoggle.
He is.
He looks exactly like a giant hornswoggle.
He has the Benoit arms.
It's very strange.
Very short. He has very strange proportions.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Now, I can't deny, this was not boring. This was...
Hogan backstage with his crew?
No, I'm in this match.
Oh, the match was not boring.
It was a spectacle. Nor was Hogan backstage with his crew. There's Hogan, there's Rodman, a bunch of good-looking women, cigars everywhere, champagne everywhere.
Brett's there, kind of hidden.
Brett's there, but he's uncomfortable.
Dude, I wonder why.
I like the way they set up a lounge area and they hung 2 NWO banners
Absolutely.
just for ambiance.
What I thought was most amazing was I'm pretty sure the second most sober guy was Rodman in this segment right here. Eric was struggling to stay awake.
Yeah.
Hogan is rambling. The girls are flat out asking Rodman to grab their boobs.
Yep.
Brett is hiding as far away as possible.
It has nothing to do with it.
Because he has to be pawn these women, so he's trying to stay off camera so he doesn't get in trouble or something. I don't know, but this was so terrible. And it was the first of like a million.
Yes. So Hogan runs his mouth. He makes fun of Nash's skinny legs. Everyone has a good laugh. Hogan's trying to cut this promo on Nash. Rodman, drunk, is pawing one of the women, and the ash from his cigar falls off onto her like in her lap.
Yeah.
It takes everyone, because they're all hammered, a few minutes to realize what's going on. Then Rodman says, "Oh shit, I'm burning this poor girl." He goes to swipe the ashes away as he's rubbing essentially her belly. She squeals, "Higher, higher," because she wants to get pawed by the worm. Hogan stops, totally thrown off his game, and I don't blame him. As many promos as he cut, as much as this old hat, this would have been new. Eventually, he goes back. Now he's trying to tell the story about all the illegal power bombs that Nash used, that Hogan paid for. He's going to sue him to get that money back.
No. He's going to go out tonight and take the money back from Kevin Nash.
I see.
He's going to go collect it tonight.
I see.
Gonna pick his wallet when he's drunk?
He promised.
Well, we saw that on the last show.
He promised a new NWO member who would be the second biggest star of the club, and they all made jokes about the talent.
Second biggest star in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Behind Hulk.
That was a lie.
It was.
I don't know how.
Shivani interviewed J.J. Dillon. So, as best I can gather, and I barely care.
I can tell you.
Okay.
So Sting and the Giant were tag team champions.
Right.
Yes.
Then the Giant, for absolutely no reason whatsoever,
Still no reason given.
joined the NWO. And then Sting joined the Wolfpack. And so they're tag team champions of opposite factions.
Right.
And so at the pay-per-view, they're going to have a singles match. The winner of the match will get both belts and be able to choose a new partner, and those two will be the new tag team champions.
Right.
How the fuck did I remember that?
I don't know.
I didn't even write it down.
That part's all pretty simple. The only complaint there is, shouldn't it be Giant and Sting choose partners and they have a tag match for the
Yes,
belts?
it
No. Well, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, come on. It was a
The first part of this...
triple threat match where partners tagged in.
That's true. The first part of this, there was something on Thunder where apparently Giant had challenged Luger to a match for the tag belts, and apparently Luger and his partner had won, and JJ said, I was in Atlanta trying to cancel that match all day. My phone call didn't get through, so that match is thrown out. So, plans change.
This company sucks.
Hey, you know who else sucks? Scott Putski.
Yeah, but you know what? Eddie Guerrero had a decent little match with him. Although if you only get a decent match with Eddie Guerrero, you do suck.
See, I thought this was terrible.
Terrible? I wouldn't call it terrible.
Eddie got suplexed onto his head and shoulder and looked out cold. It turns out, I think legitimately he was scared to death. And once he realized he was okay, he just kept wrestling. And kept taking slams and suplexes. I just said, fuck that. We are doing wrist locks and shoulder tackles from here on out. So, let's see. Chavo comes out. Eddie runs away. Ref calls for the bell. I have no idea what the finish is.
Well, he ran in.
I guess they have...
And I presume that Putski got disqualified because he got mad at Chavo afterwards.
Okay,
Chavo ran in, and they disqualified Eddie, even though Chavo didn't touch anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Putski gets in Chavo's face. Chavo punches him out. Eddie is more scared than ever. This is a weird feud.
Well, yeah, but compared to everything else in this show, I kind of like it.
It's Chavo out crazy.
Yes, Eddie was fucking with Chavo, and Chavo has turned the tables on him. Now Chavo has gone crazy, and he's got Eddie on the run. I like it.
So
I've seen worse, like the next segment.
We are now an hour or so into the show. Nash may have had a vodka IV. He was so gone. Nash and Conan are doing a promo. Nash buries Hogan's champagne, buries Hogan's women. Says, you're making fun of my skinny legs, but not everything's skinny. Whatever they said. He said he had a big dick. Talks about how many t-shirts they've sold.
I mean, he didn't really. He just said not all of them are skinny. So he could have meant he's got one thick leg.
I see.
And one skinny leg.
I see.
He meant his cock, but he's just...
Right.
He brags about how many t-shirts they've sold that night. Then he asks Robin, why are you hanging out with the white boys? Mr. Nash?
Does that rub off?
I don't know.
I mean, he meant the white and black, but...
No, he didn't.
It came off much differently.
I'm sure he didn't.
He says he wanted...
Nash was confused.
Hey, black man, come hang out with the cool cats over here.
Yes. Then it was time for Bischoff and Giant in the crowd. Now, Giant, I think, was sober.
I think so.
Or he's just so huge, he can hold his liquor. Eric Bischoff.
He looked like he was God.
He goes to talk, and he gets through it without any embarrassment. But then he has to hold... he's holding the mic for the Giant. Maybe he thought he was off camera. Oh, my God. He could have fallen asleep. His head could have fallen off. He may have just collapsed. Nothing would have surprised me.
When I looked at Eric, I don't know if it was this segment or a little bit later in the show, but it was like, I understand this.
Yeah.
Because every Christmas show, I hit a point where I feel like this, where like, I have like a massive buzz from all the alcohol, but I feel like I could die at any second. That's what he looked like here.
Yes.
Like, in some ways he feels really good, and in other ways he feels really bad.
He may have been...
And he knows he's going to feel worse in the morning.
He may have been contemplating suicide at this exact point.
He did not look good here.
So, Giant's cutting this promo on Sting, comparing him to an insect. Bischoff suddenly yanks the mic back. And he says, hey, you know what Sting's like? Sting's like an insect. And Giant says, that's right, Eric. And he picks up and just keeps going. This is amazing.
This show is so off the rails.
And finally, Giant, who, I remind you, I thought Giant was the sober one. Giant looks into the camera and says, I'm going to pummel you to death right in the middle of the ring. Okay.
Remember, Eric's the boss.
You know, I mean, that's the important key here. So, like, imagine being on top of the world and you've just come off, like, the most lucrative year in wrestling history for any promotion that's ever been on the earth. And all of a sudden, like, you're losing in the ratings and you're driven to alcohol and, like, now everybody's just got to be drinking. Like, is that the best strategy if you're trying to turn this ship around? Oh, man. There's the iceberg. Break out the rum. Get all the rum and we're going to try and turn this ship around. But I got to drink the whole bottle first.
I'm trying to think of a company in any industry that has ever been turned around by massive alcohol abuse. I think it's a short list.
Probably very, very short. Like, everyone's drinking.
The people working there, Craig, not the customers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I don't know if alcohol's to blame on this next segment, but here's what happened. Rick Rude, Kurt Hennig, and Conan came out for a promo. They're all in the Wolfpack. They're all buddies.
Yeah.
Rude cuts a heel promo on the fans.
Yes, he does.
They all run down Goldberg. Conan sucks up to the fans, vows to beat Goldberg. I was so confused by the end of this.
I'm sure they were too.
I had no idea. Booker T versus Chris Benoit in match 6 of the best of 7.
This show was so off the rails that when we had a good wrestling match, I barely paid attention. I was like, this is just a match.
You know,
a really good one.
Is it me, or is this best of 7 series not nearly as great in hindsight as it was?
It does not hold up.
It's a bunch of good TV matches.
It's one of the rare things that does not hold up. You got to realize that Raw's 3 hours, and I mean, most weeks we get at least one really good match.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of bullshit, but if you watch Raw and you watch SmackDown and you watch the pay-per-views, if you only watch WWE, you're going to get probably one very good match every week on one of those shows. And for crying out loud, if you watch the Indies, if you watch New Japan, if you watch Evolve, if you watch Ring of Honor, I mean, you're getting good matches like this all the time. So looking back in hindsight, yeah, this was a good match.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help. It doesn't help that the fans had seen this match before.
That's the other thing.
You know,
it does not feel like
they had in fact seen it 6 times before.
Well, and many times before that.
Not to mention, it's not that the match is bad. It's that, okay, we saw this last week.
Yeah.
And we saw this the week before. We're done.
So, Stevie Ray came out to give Booker a pep talk, which worked, and he fired up. And Benoit cut him off, and then Booker had a twisting sunset flip out of the corner for the win. Series is tied at 3-3. And Benoit jumped Booker after the match, but Stevie made the save. Hogan's back on the couch.
Oh my God. If you thought the show was off the rails, wait till you hear this one.
He advises Conan not to drop the soap, hanging out with the Wolfpack. Hulk Hogan made fun of Randy Savage for being bald.
He sure did.
So, he reveals his surprise, which is
His first surprise,
which is Miss Elizabeth. And she comes down, and she nestles into the couch between Hogan and Hart. And Hogan's going off about having what Savage used to have. And he leans over and he kisses Liz like on the cheek and neck. And Brett like leans over and kind of squeezes her knee. Because he's got to do something for the story, but he doesn't want to do anything. So she's...
The storyline here is that, if you recall, recently, like, they spray painted Liz and humiliated her.
Like 3 weeks ago.
Well, now she's their whore.
She's there to fuck them. They said, Liz, come join our crew.
This is the storyline.
Yeah, come join our crew. Brett and I will tag team you.
No, all of them.
Or all of them.
Eric later.
That's true.
She is being whored out to the NWO Black and White.
She joined them to be their object.
Yep. That is the storyline.
Don't get mad at us. That's what happened.
That's exactly what happened. We're probably being nice about it.
Now, here's the thing.
She's fine with it.
Well, okay, here's one of the things. There's a million things. So, Hogan's talking about having what Savage used to have, and the announcers are like, oh my God, Randy Savage is already dangerous. Now he's going to flip his lid.
True.
Like 2 weeks ago, when she was in the Wolfpack, Lex is in the ring talking about fucking her in the back of the limo with all the other guys.
Yep.
And Savage didn't care then. Why is he going to care now?
She is the NWO. She is the NWO bicycle.
Apparently, the only people who realized this were myself and Randy, as we'll get to. Norman Smiley versus Fit Finley.
They had a decent match that was met with boring chants and the wave.
This made me sad.
A passionate wave.
And then
it made Finley angry.
Tony Schiavone, just in the nicest manner possible, says, you know, they do the wave at all sorts of big sporting events. Why not Nitro?
That's what he said.
Well,
he did his best.
He tried.
It wasn't his fault.
He was trying very hard.
They were having such a good match, and these fans could not have cared less.
No. They wanted more to hear about who Liz was fucking.
I don't think so, Vince.
Finley hit a rolling fireman's carry and a tombstone for the win. Schiavone calls out Stinger for an interview. Maybe the only actual newsworthy thing on this entire show.
This is where the show fell off a cliff.
Sting's entire body language has changed. He's relaxed. He is comfortable. He is
This
at
started
ease.
last week.
He's talking.
When he first joined the Wolfpack,
That's true.
he
He was
was
smiling last week,
smiling.
too.
He was happy. He was in a great mood.
So he talks here. He gets to talk finally. He begins by calling the Giant fat.
Good thing there was no Twitter back then. Can you imagine the anti-bullying campaign that people would have started versus poor Sting right here?
He says, at the first bash, I had blonde hair. I was a nice guy. I was kind of a brat, but I was beating up big guys just like you, Giant. Now I got long hair. I'm a seasoned veteran, and I'm a whole lot meaner. He says, Giant needs to quit the champagne and cigarettes because he's out of shape. And whether it takes the death drop or the death lock, he owns the Giant at the bash. And he turns to Tony, goes to him the mic and says, thank you, Tony. It's nice to talk again.
Show us a disaster.
0 fucks given.
I mean, people really need to go back and watch this show if they think that WWE is going down the tubes now. I mean, yeah, they fuck a lot of stuff up, but it ain't nothing like this. This is a mess.
Shivani calls out Roddy Piper for a promo.
Oh, my God. I was so sick of talking. Jesus Christ.
This was a talk show.
And it was a third straight week. It's like, I get it. The first week that Roddy and Randy Savage cut promos on each other, like, it was good. We didn't need to do it a third time.
So Piper comes out. He sucks up to the local sports teams. In theory, a good plan, but it backfired here because Detroit's hockey team is in the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and now all the fans care about is the hockey team. Chanting, go Red Wings.
He's burying Randy Savage in the middle of it. He calls Randy Savage, and he says this with such an air of gravity. Randy Savage came from a test tube.
That's what he said. Like it's a terrible thing.
And then he pauses because he's waiting for the reaction from the crowd for his brilliant line.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting there.
He is upset that Dennis Rodman was wearing plaid, so there's no Scotsman with green hair. He talks about Rodman spilling cigars on women and asks, hey, Rodman, have you gotten any mail lately?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a gay joke, a Karl Malone joke.
I think it's a Karl Malone joke.
Yeah.
It's Roddy Piper, so I guarantee it's a gay joke.
Yeah. So Savage comes out. They're yelling at each other. Savage declares, I am not a mark.
This is where Bischoff looked like he was about to collapse. I wrote it in all caps. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So they're yelling at each other. Savage says, we're in Detroit. It's murder city. Let's fight. And Detroit says, yay, we all kill each other. Yay. So Hogan and Bischoff appear up in the skybox or whatever, repeatedly call Piper and Savage girls, repeatedly call them sissies. And Hogan says, Eric, I got a gift for you. Miss Elizabeth is all yours. And he pushes Liz into Eric, and Eric Bischoff takes his employee and kisses her hard on the mouth.
Oh, man, he was just going to town with Liz.
And Savage did exactly what I thought he was going to do.
Yeah.
He just says, Liz, I got over you a long time ago. Then he says, Hogan will never get over you, and Piper, I'm not over you. And he punches Piper in the face. And they start brawling, and Hogan and Liz and Brett and Eric having a hearty laugh. This laughter was the most emotion I ever saw from Liz.
Yep, Piper and Savage, absolute idiot baby faces. Just the biggest
Bumbling fools.
goddamn idiots. And we must not forget Hulk Hogan for like the fourth straight fucking week. He's all about Viagra. He's handing off Liz to Bischoff and says, unlike you, Randy, we don't need no Viagra. It keeps going on and on about how Savage couldn't steal the deal. He needs Viagra, like over and over and over again.
They replayed Mr. Jericho going to Washington from last week.
It was awesome. They should have replayed it.
Jericho then confronted Malenco on Thunder. He brought up the memory of Malenco's dead father, and so Malenco waffled him with a belt.
As he should have.
Yeah. Dean Malenco versus Disco Inferno.
Oh, boy.
I have never seen anything in my life as physically revolting as Disco Inferno's pants.
Absolutely.
Pea soup green and powder blue
Yes.
and white and oh so very, very shiny. I have no idea what else happened in this match. I tried to pay attention to what's going on. All I could do was look at Disco's pants and cringe. I can tell you Dean won with a clover leaf. That's all I have to say.
I know that Brian's been harping on the fact that Disco has been more serious lately. This match, he was a bumbling fool, and he got pinned. Or he got...
Well, he wasn't dancing the whole time.
If you say so.
He was facing a very, very angry Dean Malenko just beat his ass.
Just in these pants, you couldn't take him seriously.
I couldn't process it. I just felt like I just got lost in the pants.
Wow.
More with Hogan and the women.
That's what he said.
Excuse me?
And he got lost in pants.
That may have been the wrong
In
choice of
Disco's
words.
pants.
I got lost in Disco Inferno's pants.
Get that
So
drop.
Hogan shows footage from Hollywood where he's on a movie set with hair. And I guess the giant star he was talking about was Scott Steiner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott Steiner is going to be the next big Hollywood superstar. He's going to be number 2 behind Hogan. And Hogan's got him on the set. This was not the big Papa Pump of years later. This was a very shy, very nervous Scotty Steiner. This was Scott Rex Steiner.
Yeah.
Just hanging out among all these stars, starstruck.
Goes to meet Carl Weathers,
Oh, he's all quiet.
Apollo Creed, and Predator. And Apollo's like, man, look at these arms. They're huge. And Scott's like, thanks, man.
That's exactly what happened.
Goes to Shannon Tweed. It was Shannon Tweed, yeah.
Yes.
And then he's just shy around this woman.
Well, that is Gene Simmons' wife.
Not then. Back then,
What would Scott Steiner care? Gene Simmons going to beat his ass?
if you know anything about Gene Simmons and Shannon Tweed's relationship, I think it would have been okay.
And I shot him.
Yeah. Well, no.
What are you talking about?
Gene Simmons and Shannon Tweed had an open relationship for years.
Okay, yeah. So what would Scott Steiner be worried about?
Gene's a very powerful man.
But he doesn't care.
Lots and lots of money.
So he'd have Scott Steiner shot. Is that what you're saying? I was right.
Regardless,
He was superstar Scott Steiner as well.
superstar Scott Steiner was
That
his
lasted
name.
no time.
No.
They go back to Hogan on the couch. Hulk Hogan is so drunk, he refers to himself as Hogglewood. Steiner
How did
shows...
Hornswoggle never steal that?
Don't know. Steiner shows up. Hogan bungled his name as well, and nothing happened. And here's where I ask myself, is this show ever going to end?
It's terrible.
I think this is where he got the idea for Big Papa Pump, because he sat down between the ladies and looked like he was enjoying himself.
Well, he was Big Papa Pump last week. Hate to kill you.
The over-the-top Big Papa Pump.
I see.
That you were just
I thought you meant the
about.
names.
See, he got a confidence boost here.
Yes.
The
Yes.
attention these females
I
are paying
see.
to him. Goldberg versus Chavo Guerrero Jr.
Can I say it again? A delight.
Absolutely.
Goldberg now main eventing. And this came off like a legit main event, even though everyone knew it was going to happen. Goldberg mauled him like a polar bear, speared him, jackhammered him, and won. Everyone was going crazy, including Uncle Eddie, who was standing on the ramp marking out. This was a win.
This was almost as fun as the La Parka match. Like every Goldberg match now is like the highlight of my week. Just coming out here and mauling these idiots.
The pop in this arena.
Yeah.
When
After
Goldberg hit the
3
spear.
hours of utter bullshit.
Yeah.
Like
They were chanting his name before, like, intros.
all these crazies nowadays that get on me on Twitter and I complain about something and they try and defend it. And I always hear, well, of course, like the crowd doesn't care in hour 3. They've been sitting there for 3 hours, blah, blah, blah. This show was 3 hours. And this show was worse than any Raw this year. And Goldberg came out at the end and they lost their shit.
Yeah.
It ain't the length. It's that this guy's over and no one's over like this nowadays.
So the Wolfpack came out again. Lex and Sting just howling with laughter as they come down and make their way to the ring. They don't care what's going on. They're having a good time about something. If I thought Nash was drunk before,
So trashed.
legit, how did he get down to and into the ring without assistance? Slurring, mumbling, calls out DDP, says, come get your t-shirt. So Shivani interviews Paige on the ramp. Paige says, Nash, you and me were friends back in the day, and I see you've got a new set of friends in the Wolfpack. And everyone in the Wolfpack's great, especially your new friends Lex Luger and Sting. And now you want me to join. And then before he can get any farther, Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman attack him with chairs. It took a while, but Sting and Conan eventually made the save and chased them away. That's how it ended. That show was long.
If I ever, for whatever reason, say, you know, I want Dennis Rodman to hit me with a chair, please, somebody stop him and stop me and wake me up. He killed him with chair
Yep.
shots.
Hey, gotta lay it in, brother. I'm sure DDP told him to lay it in. And again, sets up a classic. Maybe not an in-ring classic.
No.
But a famous match coming up here soon at Bash at the Beach. And that's it, everybody. That's Raw and Nitro. This Monday Night War. At least this week, it was very exciting. These were not boring
It
shows.
was entertaining for sure.
Let me tell you something. If Nitro's boring next week, I'm going to hope they go back to this. Because this was at least exciting.
Kinda.
With a lot to talk about.
It gave us a lot to talk
I
about.
could have done without 9,000 talking segments.
It gave us a lot of material for this show. That is true.
That's what I'm getting at here. All right, everybody, that's it. We'll be back tomorrow with a lot more. I'll be back at Observer Live. Steve Austin, I know he gets an abundance of credit, but he still doesn't get enough. You take that guy off this god-awful show, they're losing to Nitro. And you know what? Nitro sucks. The show is so long, and it's just so much filler. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. It's a struggle to pay attention to it.
And there's less and less matches now.
This 3 hours for any wrestling show is a nightmare.
Yeah.
And here we are again. Another 3-hour Nitro. And speaking of dudes killing each other,
Yep.
I used to love watching these goofy matches with Public Enemy and Meng and Barbarian. I have no idea why Meng is no longer with the Barbarian. He ain't doing a damn thing. It's not like Hugh Morris couldn't just still be a singles guy. They got rid of Meng. They put Hugh Morris in there. It's Hugh Morris and the Barbarian against the Public Enemy. They have an 8-minute, absolutely pointless match where they just killed each other. They hit each other in the head with shit. Rocco at one point he got turned upside down like a body slam and dropped headfirst into a trash can. No way to protect himself. Just dropped on his head. This sounds grim. I'm not even trying to be funny. I think lives were shortened in this fucking match here. For what? Nothing. Just a pointless, stupid match.
There were literally shots to the head with weapons 30 seconds into the broadcast.
Tony Schiavone even goes, I'm baffled we don't see more injuries. That's what he said.
Yeah. He also used the terms low blow city and suplex city.
You might want to remind our listeners what we were actually watching there, Vince.
Nitro.
Specifically, Nitro 144, June 15th.
No one could want to watch this show, so I don't even know why you would bother.
There is one thing on the show worth recommending. Mm-hmm. We shall get to it. So after...
They were in Uniondale, New York. I think this is the first time that WCW was in New York. Is that correct?
Well, they were in Long Island.
Well, after this, they probably never went back.
Dude, they shouldn't have gotten back. They should have been banned.
So the finish was very convoluted. It involved all 5 men. 3 of them went through 2 tables. Public Enemy was awarded the win via a pinfall on the floor.
Okay, I'll explain it.
Why?
Rocco... So, Barbarian and Hugh Morris are on the apron. They're both there. Who knows why? Rocco goes to do a high cross to put them through a table on the outside. They just catch him. Johnny Grunge then grabs Jimmy Hart, who is a foreign object, apparently. He lifts him up, and he throws Jimmy into all 3 of them. Everybody tumbles through a table. There are bodies everywhere, and Nick Patrick, for no good reason, just counts the pin outside the ring.
To end the match.
Yes.
That's a great reason.
Well, Rocco
It's not a Falls Count Anywhere match.
I don't care. I wanted it over.
I wanted it over too, but it was stupid.
Rocco was kind of laying on the Barbarian.
Great.
And that counted as a pinfall, I guess.
As I wrote here, I don't know who pinned who, and I don't care.
Actually, it's funny. I recapped this whole match, and in looking at my notes, I don't know who pinned who either.
I'm telling you.
I was mostly baffled that Nick Patrick was counting 3 bodies.
Rocco pinned the Barbarian.
No one cares.
I'm
The
telling
point
you.
is, it doesn't
Barbarian
matter.
doesn't care.
It doesn't matter. That's why this was so infuriating.
That
They
actually
killed
is
each
true.
other, and no one knows who won.
Hey, they didn't open up with a promo.
Mike Tenay was hanging out with the fans earlier today. They were all very loud and annoying, and Mike Tenay was way too close to the open flames on a barbecue grill. Then, following this annoyance, they followed it with a request for Nitro Party clips and more annoying people. Stop putting annoying people on TV.
There's 3 hours.
I'm
You're
not watching
forced
wrestling
do
to see wrestling fans.
stupid stuff like
I want to
this.
see wrestlers. Mean Gene brings Randy Savage out for a promo.
So, by the way, before we talk about the promo, they had a pay-per-view the night before.
Yes.
Randy Savage, the story was his knee was injured so badly that he not only lost the tag team match where he was teaming with Roddy,
To the sharpshooter.
but they also did the singles match afterwards, and he lost again because of his knee.
Right.
To a figure 4.
Now he just dances on down to the ring.
He was so
He
hurt.
didn't sell his damn knee one single bit here.
He was so hurt in those 2 matches. They put him in the main event on a cage match, the next night.
Yeah. All I could think watching these results was who I wanted to be there when they explained to Randy, we need you to submit twice on this show.
Dude. All you need to know is he came out for this promo and says, I miss New York. It's like, I'll bet you do.
He said the Wolfpack did not eat at the same restaurants or hit on the same women. So they all go out separately after the show. No one eats at the same place.
Well,
Maybe
people-
what he was trying to say was clearly the NWO Black and White all hit on the same women.
Yeah.
or they have better standards.
Liz, for example.
Yes.
But these Wolfpack, they don't do that.
No, that's Bischoff's girl now.
She's everybody's girl, Craig.
Oh, that's right.
I thought that was abundantly
I
clear.
think
I forgot bicycle.
it would
That's
be
right.
fair to say she was Bischoff's girl for a time.
For a minute.
So, anyway, he wants a cage match with DDP, and if DDP can beat him, then he'll allow Paige into the Wolfpack. So they had clips of that whole mess in the pay-per-view like we were talking about. Also on that show, Booker beat Benoit to win the Best of 7 series, and then on the same show, beat Finley to win the TV title.
Yep.
It seems rushed to me, but then I don't care, because we got Chris Benoit versus Fit Finley.
Battle of the losers.
These were two winners.
Technically true,
Yes,
but no,
technically
it's
true.
spiritually not.
No.
In the wrestling ring, is the winners. Now, is it just me? Or is Fit Finley the most underrated guy of the entire Monday Night Wars era?
Absolutely.
He was, I thought,
I knew he was pretty great back then.
I'm watching this. I thought, to me, he was clearly the best guy in this match. And the other guy was Chris Benoit. That's a high standard. Finley was freaking awesome.
Dude, this was such a fun fight.
Yeah,
It was a fight.
This was the best thing on either show.
by far.
I know that
This is the
sounds
one-
hard to believe.
This is what I was talking about when I said there is one thing I can recommend on this show. If you need something to watch on this Wednesday, for most of you, look up this episode of Nitro and watch Benoit and Finley.
Fans were going absolutely crazy for this match. The wrestling was great. Finish was great.
Finley's body slams are the best thing ever. I mentioned the one he did to Hoovy a few weeks ago,
They really are.
but he does them all like that.
Yeah, he stands them straight up like he's going to drop them on their head and then just
Then lifts them straight up and then powers
and
them
then
down.
just slams them.
That is a slam.
It looks awesome.
That's great. I did also like the crowd chanting USA for this match between the Irishman and the Canadian.
Thank you. Yeah, I noticed that as well.
And Finley tried a tombstone, but Benoit reversed it into a crossface for the submission win. This was great wrestling.
It was seamless the way they did the finish. It was so great.
So Gene then interviews Benoit in the ring. Benoit says, there's something I need to do to Booker T, something I should have done a long time ago. He calls Booker out so they can handle this face-to-face.
Booker comes out with his brother Stevie Ray. I love everything about Stevie Ray until, as we'll see later, he has to wrestle.
That is the flaw.
He is absolutely the most horrendous wrestler. But aside from that, he's a superior professional wrestler in many ways. He's wearing this outfit. It's just
Yes.
total heel outfit. You just know he's going to be a heel because of the outfit he's wearing. He called Chris Benoit a pipsqueak,
Yeah.
and he pulled it off.
So what Benoit wanted to do was shake Booker's hand and then raise his hand. They had a mutual admiration session, talked about how much they respected each other. And Benoit starts to say, if you ever need anyone watching your back, I'll be in your corner. Stevie's pissed off. Says, hey, he's already got a partner. He doesn't need a pipsqueak like you. You wouldn't have lasted 10 seconds if Booker had wrestled like I told him to.
So basically, he's Rhino if you watched Raw on Monday.
Benoit tries to ignore this. Says again he'll be there. He'd be a good man to be in Booker's corner. Stevie sucker punches him. Booker tries to pull Stevie off. Mongo hits the ring for the first time in months.
I popped.
So did Larry. Mongo lives, Larry cries. Crowd's going nuts. Eventually, Booker pulls Stevie away. Mongo's holding Benoit back. Crowd's demanding Flair. Benoit says, I am not there for NWO Red. I am not here for NWO White. I'm here for... And he holds up 4 fingers. The crowd goes crazy.
I liked this whole segment.
It was really good. This is good wrestling. Gene called DDP out for a promo. He said he'd been proving himself all his life. If these people wanted a cage match, they got it. Then he called out Hollywood Scum Hogan, which he said every week And it got more and more funny. Called out Dennis Rodman, said he got himself a partner, and that partner would help him deliver the bang. A clue.
I see what he did there.
So they showed Hogan and Rodman attacking Paige last week, addressed the rumors that Karl Malone would be Paige's tag team partner. For those of you who don't remember, Karl Malone was a basketball player whose nickname was the Mailman.
Oh, you should have let Brian guess.
I knew that.
I'm sure it was right.
He wrote
on the
a
tip
book
of your
about
tongue.
this.
Kidding me? I wrote a book on this. I watched all of this stuff.
Piper comes out for a promo.
Oh,
Here's everything I wrote about this. His hand was bleeding for some reason. He booked Savage Paige in a cage and made himself the special ref.
yeah. 2 weeks ago, he said he would never, ever be a special referee again.
Right.
Then he assigned himself to be the special referee for this match. Rambled on like an absolute madman, which, admittedly, he said, I'm as crazy as Randy Savage, which is very crazy, or vice versa. He's as crazy as I am. Yeah, he's out of his mind.
Masahiro Chono and Hiroyoshi Tenzan versus High Voltage.
God. You know Tenzon's still wrestling?
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. This goddamn match. So having this match, fight breaks out in the crowd. It's like a 5-minute fight. I mean, they were not paying attention forever.
No.
These two teams are just wrestling and wrestling.
Well, let's think about this for a second.
and wrestling.
I think you're giving him too much credit.
They're going on and on.
Let's think about this for 4 seconds. Tenzan and Shono, in the world of wrestling, here in this crowd, they are evil foreigners. They are wearing black and white NWO t-shirts that everyone hates. So they come out here, and High Voltage gets the heat on Tenzan. What the hell?
Because nobody had any idea what was going on in this match right here.
No.
They went on for like an hour, easy, and I'm getting more and more infuriated. Like, can we end this fucking match? I mean, it's not a terrible match, but
It was just boring.
there's nothing to it.
It was boring and totally pointless.
I can't remember the last time we saw Chono and Tenzan on the show. Maybe never. I know we've seen Chono. Obviously, nothing is going to come of this. And finally, Tenzan goes up top, hits a diving headbutt on Chaos. Fucking Chaos kicked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same reaction.
I was just beside myself.
Just lay down.
And then Chono gets in the ring and Yakuza kicks this motherfucker and pins him. And I was like, thank God. Like, why did you kick out of that? Who put this match together?
I don't know.
Who is responsible for this? I want them banished from wrestling.
So the other thing here in this match, what is the biggest feud on Monday Nitro at this point in history?
Hogan and Sting?
It's the Wolfpack and the Black and White.
Oh, it is?
It's on every segment.
Theoretically, yes.
Well, I thought that Hogan and Sting would be bigger. In the history of all of Nitro?
Well, it
No,
was
no,
supposed
at
to be
this
bigger.
point in
Oh,
history.
at this point. Yes.
Yeah. Now, an hour into the show, during a random pointless tag match, the announcers very casually mentioned, oh, by the way, last night, Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude jumped sides.
Yep.
They jumped from the Wolfpack to the Black and White for no reason. A month ago, they jumped from the Black and White to the Wolfpack for no reason. No one has any idea what they're doing. They're drawing shit out of a hat and putting it on TV.
Well, you're right, but I liked what they did with that.
They at least tried at the
Yes.
end. They tried to explain some of this. They showed Sting beating Giant at the Bash to win possession of both tag belts. Now he gets to choose a partner. Then the Wolfpack came out for a promo. They congratulated Sting on his championship win. He came out with both belts. Got a big old smile. One fan in the aisle had an Ultimate Warrior poster. Fans were chanting Warrior's name.
Lucky them. Lucky them.
So Sting gets...
Ask and ye shall receive.
Sting hypes up the credentials of Nash and Luger and Conan and says, whoever I choose, it'll be a great partner. And we'll find out in our tag match later.
This is why 3 hours sucks. They did an entire segment that was all about how Sting was not going to tell us who his partner was yet.
Yes.
When I'm president, there will be no 3-hour wrestling shows. I will sign it into law.
They showed Canyon beating Saturn at the pay-per-view and then getting jumped by Raven, who was disguised as Mortis. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Canyon versus Sick Boy.
Sick Boy is just absolutely terrible, but Canyon got a decent match out of him. I couldn't believe my eyes.
It goes in the category of decent matches that no one cares about.
There were so many moves.
Kane did a lot of moves. Kane was the innovator. They said, look at all these moves he's doing. Went back and forth 800 times. Kane won with the flatliner, which, even though it's the old name, it's also a new move. It used to be the Samoan drop off the middle rope. Now it's the downward spiral.
I love when this was over. Tony Schiavone said, these are his exact words. This man is on a win streak. It started last night. That's what he said.
2.
With no irony.
Yeah.
He wasn't wrong.
So Rick Rude and Kurt Hennig come out for a promo.
I'll explain this because I liked it.
Yeah.
So, the story was, it was supposed to be Goldberg versus Kurt Hennig. But Kurt Hennig claimed that he got an injury. He injured his knee. And he was going to be out of action for just a short period of time. And so he asked Conan, his buddy in the white and black, if he would please step in for him and have his matches with Goldberg. Conan, your classic mark, fell for it hook, line, and sinker. So, of course, they have the match at the pay-per-view, and Goldberg killed him, and then Hennig and Rude revealed that they were, in fact, now part of the red and black. They had screwed the white and black.
Vice versa.
And screwed Conan.
Vice versa.
Well, they're in the white and black now. They were in the red and black.
You got it backwards.
Impossible. Now, they are still pushing Hennig versus Goldberg, and Rude claims the streak will end.
Now, what you overlooked here is they actually explained here why they left the Wolfpack.
Money.
Hulk Hogan paid better.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we do know he's
That
got
wasn't
money.
so hard.
No.
So at the end of this promo,
This was amazing.
this is actually the best thing. Hennig's laughing at Conan. He says, look, ever since I've been here, I got here and I swerved DDP. Then I swerved the Four Horsemen. Last night, I swerved Conan. But I'll never swerve you, Rick. I looked at each other, looked at the camera, looked at each other, looked at the camera. Somewhere here, Rude realized, I'm fucked. But they left together. It was really funny.
These two are the best.
They were great. He showed Goldberg beating Conan to go to 100-0. He showed Chris Jericho and Dean Malenko brawling in the parking lot the night before.
It was a great brawl. It was an awesome brawl.
So the Cruiserweight title, I was very confused by this promo. It had been held up, and then the match was a DQ, so it was going back to Jericho?
Don't ask.
Dylan says, I will return this belt to you if you promise to grant Dean Malenko a title match within 30 days.
This was so weird. He said, I'll give this to you, provided, do we all know what that word means, provided?
As long
Provided you defend within 30 days against Dean Malenko. Jericho then claims, I was at the Library of Congress, and it stated that I must defend within 30 days, but I don't have to defend against Dean Malenko, and then he snatched the belt away. Shouldn't JJ have said, no, you don't get it back unless you defend against Dean within 30 days?
I don't know.
In a logical world, he wouldn't give him the title back. He would have him face Dean, and the winner would get the title.
They would do a rematch for the held up belt again. Yeah.
Yes.
So Jericho says Dean is a worthless loser like his dad. Dean zooms in and attack him, and they had a brawl.
This was a great brawl.
This had to have set the record for most real estate used in a brawl.
Did you not see the opener?
No, that would be most equipment used.
Yes.
Plunder.
Yeah, this is just total land area covered.
Yes.
They started at the stage. They brawled into the back. They brawled deep and deep and deep into the back. Dean kept finding things to throw Jericho into, and Jericho kept finding new ways to make funny noises.
Including a big cardboard box.
Just a cardboard box. And finally, after several minutes of this, security runs up and tackles Dean, and Jericho, who was already run like a half mile, Jericho goes on a long run deep into the background of the shot, and then up a ramp.
Yeah.
Dude, they were in the loading dock of a large arena.
Yes.
And he ran so far that you couldn't even see him anymore.
He gets smaller and
He
smaller.
just kept going.
There was a car coming down the ramp. I swore it was a cab. that he had hailed.
That was awesome. Let's see. Chris Adams versus the Giant.
God, this is all just so dumb.
Giant is now doing the cigarette gimmick.
Yeah.
Where he has to light up as his match is starting.
Yeah, Sting made fun of him for doing too much smoking and not enough training.
Well, it'll stunt your growth.
And so he comes out and he's smoking.
He lights up on the stage, gets in the ring. Now he's annoyed he has to wrestle. Like, you know you're the Giant. You know you've got 23 hours and 55 other minutes of the day to have your smoke.
Right.
He has to light up right now.
Well, I think it was to mock Sting, his former partner.
I see.
It's still very stupid.
So Adams wants to fight. Giant punches him once. Adams keeps trying to fight. Giant chokeslams him with the cigarette in his mouth.
That was at least funny.
That was funny. Pins him with a foot in the chest. Leaves.
This gimmick was so over. They brought it back when he was in WWF. Whatever.
You ever heard his, I think it was on Table for Three. He told the story of his first day as a member of the WWF roster. Was it St. Valentine's Day Massacre when he debuted?
I think so.
It's the show where he made his debut. And Patterson and I think it was Lanza, they lead him into Vince's office to have a meeting. And then they notice he's got cigarettes. And they fool him into lighting up at Vince's office. They say, hey, let's have us all have smokes. They do. And of course, they put theirs out immediately. And Vince walks in, and here's Paul White on his first day on the job smoking in Vince McMahon's office. Didn't go well. Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, and Disciple came out for a promo.
At least they had a point this week.
Hogan ran his mouth about selling out Madison Square Garden, said he would always be the man. Said Dallas Page was the biggest whiner in the Wolfpack or WCW. Triple Dog dared him to find a partner and do something about it.
Yeah, they were openly speculating about Karl Malone. Mm-hmm. Like they were basically letting you know.
Karl Malone's going to be his partner.
But they were stringing you
Page's
along
partner, yeah.
to...
Sting and a mystery partner versus Harlem Heat. So Sting comes out, and this time, I don't think he saw it the first time, but this time he's coming out and he sees the fan with the Ultimate Warrior poster, and he pauses, and he looks at it. Remember how he said that since joining the Wolfpack, Sting's been smiling again? Looked at this Warrior poster, wasn't smiling no more.
Nope.
Made his way to the ring. So cutting a promo, he says, Savage is crazy, Paige is in for a fight. And my new tag team championship partner is Kevin Nash.
What a shocker.
Funny how that works.
And then Mike Tenay goes, he fooled the experts. I was like, who'd the experts think it was going to be? Like maybe Luger? I mean, was there a long list of names the experts figured it would be?
He only had 4 choices.
Of course it was going to be Nash. Another championship he didn't have to win, and he invariably probably will not have to lose.
It's like you've seen this before.
Yeah.
So Nash threatens Kurt Hennig. Then we get the match. It's Harlem Heat versus Sting and Nash. This is really long. Mm-hmm. Stevie Ray versus Kevin Nash. Slow wrestling.
You don't say.
Very slow wrestling. Goes on for a long time. It occurred to me here, the Wolfpack are the most popular act in this show, except for Goldberg, who wasn't on the show. By light years, the Wolfpack are the biggest stars. So, of course, they get the heat on Booker. For like 10 minutes.
It should be noted that the very first spot that Booker and Sting did was a leapfrog spot. And Booker, I don't know what he thought was supposed to happen, but Sting leaps high in the air, and Booker, like, falls to his knees underneath Sting, blows out his knee, and immediately rolls outside. And I don't think it was a serious injury because he kept working and he kept running. But
for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, he was trying very hard to pretend that he wasn't hurt, even though it was very clear he was.
I see.
And yeah, then they beat on him for like 10 years.
Yep.
And then my favorite part, it's amazing. You know where I'm going?
The hot tag?
They fucking have Booker T tag Stevie Ray. And Tenay... As you got to just remember this, as it's happening, Tenay screams, Stevie Ray's all fired up. Stevie Ray gets a tag. He literally steps through the ropes and stands there. Mm-hmm. Am I making this up?
No. Absolutely not.
He didn't throw one clothesline.
Nope.
He didn't do one offensive maneuver. He got the tag, he stepped into the ring, and he stood there. He's horrible. God bless him.
He stood there for a while. He hit like an elbow and then stood there for a while. You know what this reminded me of all of a sudden? This is Jinder Mahal.
No way. Jinder Mahal is way better than Stevie Ray.
Right.
Dude, he tries to hit Stevie Ray with the death drop.
Yeah.
Stevie Ray does not bend at all.
Stings, I have to like jump up.
Dude, like, I understand not being able to lay on your back and do like a full gymnastics Bray Wyatt bridge. Like, the guy's standing completely upright.
Yeah.
All he has to do is lean back like a little bit and look up. He can't.
No.
He can't look up and he can't lean back. Sting's like on his tiptoes, reaching over the guy's shoulder, like trying to get around his neck, sort of, and then they both just tumble backwards.
That was the finish.
That was the finish.
The biggest pop in this match, Kevin Nash doing a crotch chop.
Yes.
This was a bad match.
Stevie
Not to mention, he hits the death drop right by the goddamn ropes. And poor Booker T has to just be the incompetent partner who's a foot away from his brother, and he has to pretend like he can't get there because the ref's out of position. So by the time the ref runs over there, Booker's like, he's swimming for like an hour, but he's not making any distance. And finally the ref counts 3, and he collapses. This is terrible.
Did we mention that Stevie's hot tag consisted exactly 2 moves, then stopping to scold Booker, then spit at Nash, and then take the worst reverse DDT of all time and get pinned? Mm-hmm. Yeah. No good this was. We had the same Hulk Hogan, Scott Steiner video from Hollywood last week. And then Bischoff brings Steiner onto the stage for a promo.
Listen, I gotta give Scott Steiner credit.
Why?
Retroactively. He made great improvements over the next year.
There you go.
Because he was, like, if you only saw Big Papa Pump and you went back and watched this, you wouldn't even believe it's the same guy.
It's hard to believe.
It's impossible to believe.
It's true.
Now,
He was a black hole, an abyss of charisma.
I don't know if he was just this nervous, or I don't know if he had just completed a hearty workout right before this segment.
He was sweating.
He was sweating, but you know what? Do you remember long-haired Scotty Steiner?
Yeah.
He was never a good promo.
Well, no. Well,
He hadn't grown into the act yet. He
All I'm
hadn't
saying-
figured it out.
he comes out on stage, he sits down. Yes, he has a jacket on. Yes, there are very hot lights. He is sweating more as soon as he's on stage than I am after 30 minutes on the treadmill. He's
Well,
just
you know-
pouring buckets of sweat.
A lot of those thermogenics, caffeine,
I guess so.
ephedrine,
Yeah.
you know.
Anyway, he got a horrible promo about how New York sucked and LA was great.
You know, so horrible. Here's the thing with Steiner. Like, let's not lie. Steiner's promos were always, like, they were always terrible, but they were funny. Like, he knew how to say the right things, but he was never like a great speaker.
The right things?
He was never like a great talker.
Well, and the wrong things.
But he figured out how to be great. This was every interview he ever did, but there was nothing funny or great about it. Does that make sense? He never became Nick Bockwinkel. He was always Scott Steiner. He was just a much more effective Scott Steiner when everyone believed that he was going to go crazy and kill people at a moment's notice.
He found his footing.
He found
some confidence.
He found his smile.
He said he was going to go to Hollywood to pay homage to Hulk Hogan.
Homage.
That's what he said.
What kind of cheese?
And last week it was Superstar Scott Steiner. This week they tried Big Papalicious.
Yeah.
They just keep trying.
Hey, they found one eventually.
They didn't give up.
Dallas Paige versus Rainey Savage in a steel cage with a roof on it for some reason,
This was so boring.
and Roddy Piper a special ref. So Piper and Savage come out. They get in the cage. Paige comes out, climbs on top of it to pose to the fans for no reason. And they get in there. It's an immobile Randy Savage who, at this point, couldn't do much whether he was selling a knee injury or not. It's Paige. It's Piper who's crazy. They are in a ring now. They can't leave the ring. There's nothing to do solve for time. So it's 10 minutes of stomping and choking and going into the cage.
Now listen.
Over and over.
I know that Roddy Piper is a wrestler and a legend. But to cut to the chase, eventually he beats up both men. Mm-hmm. What a bunch of absolute geeks.
Well, to be fair, Savage attacked him first, and then for whatever reason, Paige attacked him. So they had
Well,
it
it was
coming.
important to make sure the fans knew Paige was not a star going into his main event tag match with Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, I have no idea. So Savage at one point decided to hit the big elbow, even though he couldn't even stand on the top rope because of the roof.
Crushed DDP because he couldn't stand.
All three men start brawling for reasons I couldn't fathom. I had no idea what was going on. I barely cared.
Actually, I think the reason he crushed Paige was he was getting to the point in his career where he was crushing everybody because his hip was starting to go. And so instead of landing on his hip, he would just absolutely smash everybody. Everyone hated taking this elbow at the end.
I figured he couldn't get the height because there was nowhere to jump up.
Well, there was that issue.
And also he had a bum knee. So
the cage mysteriously raises a few feet. The black and white are run out. The cage lowers, and they start beating up all three men.
why did Liz get in the cage?
I don't
Got to
know.
make her money.
Got in the
Well,
cage.
because all of the black and white was in there, had she been out of the cage, she'd been vulnerable.
Okay. I just noticed Bischoff was just pawing at her the whole time. So it
Well,
didn't really
that's the other reason. Bischoff, just in case a mood hit him, he wanted her to be right by his side.
You know, there were a lot more sober people on this show this week after last week.
Yes, there were.
I wonder if Bischoff just sat down and said, okay, can we all just calm down a little bit?
Boys, we have a problem.
We're a little out of control
Last
here.
week's show was pretty amazing. So Sting runs out. First thing he does is climb the top of the cage, and I had flashbacks to like a decade prior when Sting was climbing a cage and blew out his knee. He's fine. So no one can figure out what to do. Nash.
Well, no, hold on. Before you talk about what Nash does, while Sting is climbing the cage, they've got this big wide shot, and you see Kevin Nash come down to ringside. His buddy is getting killed. The entire NWO is killing Randy Savage. Nash is like sleepwalking to the cage, and he's just standing there, just looking at the door. Like Larry Zbyszko is telling him to just rip the door off the hinges, and he's just standing there. He's looking at it. I could not even, he had to think there was no camera on him, right? He couldn't possibly have been trying.
I don't know.
Then he runs to the back, and he gets the gimmick.
He gets the controls that lift the cage. He's very proud. He's waving them around in the air as Savage and Paige and Piper have been stomped to smithereens.
Yeah.
They're a fine red paste all over the mat. And he hits the button. The cage raises. My first thought there, by the way, he hit the button. Did he at least make sure Sting was not still on top of the cage?
I don't
would
have
hope
any
so.
idea.
Thank God he was not. Cage raises. Black and white runs away. That's the end. What a long, boring
This was like
show.
that one SmackDown you watched. I think you watched this one, where all the women came out for the big brawl to set up Money in the Bank, and they're all absolutely killing each other in the giant brawl around ringside. Do you remember this?
No, but it doesn't mean I didn't watch it.
So, all of the women get in this brawl, and it's actually a violent brawl, and they're being put through announcers' tables, and Charlotte's like doing this moonsault off the post, and there's bodies everywhere, and it seriously looks like a crime scene. And then they hit Shane's music, and he
Oh, yes.
dances down
Yes.
to the ring.
Yes.
He's dancing.
I do remember that now,
He's
yeah.
shaking hands with the fans. He's smiling. And he gets in the ring all happy. And he's like, man, this is some shit. Let's fight a match.
That's pretty much
That's
how it went.
exactly what Nash did. He raises the cage, and he's so happy.
Yes.
And I'm like, maybe you could run back down there because he's still getting his ass beaten right here. They could use your help. Nope. He was proud that he did his job. I pushed a button. I did my job.
He pushed a lot of buttons, actually.
I solved the puzzle, is more like.
Yeah.
Now, where's my treat?
Now, the story, by the way, is that Savage, his knee was destroyed. So Savage is going to be out of action for a while.
Yikes.
Yeah. Well, let's play a song. I hope it's a good one.
Nitro, number 145, also June 22nd, 1998. Showed Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone, and Rodman attacking Dallas Paige a few weeks ago. DDP comes out for a promo. Gene very casually announces, we're doing Hogan and Rodman versus Paige and Malone at the Bash at the Beach. Like that's your big reveal? And I guess they'd already done a big press conference and everything.
Yeah,
but-
they did the big press conference. There was news out.
They actually announced it before they showed the press conference footage.
I guess so.
Stupid.
Yeah,
Well, the press conference was past history.
that's true.
And they'd already been on Leno.
But nobody had seen it.
I think
On
people
their
saw it on
TV.
Leno. Well, yeah.
So Paige hypes up the match. He promises Malone is not there because he's training to make sure he can tear Robin apart.
It is possible that Leno was on Wednesday and Thunder was Thursday, and so they did the big announcement on Thunder.
Maybe so.
It was a simple, effective promo.
Dude, it was awesome. That was a great DDP promo. This was an underrated part of this feud right here.
DDP?
Because we weren't getting good promos out of Malone.
No.
We weren't getting good promos out of Rodman.
Or even sober promos. I don't know.
We weren't getting good promos out of Hogan. So DDP deserves credit for being a good promo.
Lynn Denton.
Yeah, Lynn.
Not Len. Lynn. Versus Disco
It's
Inferno.
Lynn, right?
Yes.
It's totally
I've seen it so many times. I'm like, is it Lynn?
No. Well, we'll get to in the next match. The graphics department had a bad night here.
Yeah.
So it's Disco Inferno versus Lynn Denton. They did not have a squash.
No, they had a competitive match.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, it was
This
great.
match ruled. People were, I'm sure they must have been confused, but they were totally into Disco and his comeback. And then Disco gets a pile driver out of nowhere for the win, and he's dancing, everyone's cheering. This is a great segment.
Disco's still looking for that finishing maneuver since the
Well,
Stunner.
it keeps getting stolen
stunner.
from him. It
Yes.
was a good pile driver. It was a good match.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Mean Gene brings out Kevin Green for a promo.
This poor guy comes out here. He tries to put over the local Jaguars. He tries to put over the crowd. He's trying so hard, and they just refuse to let it go, and they just boom out of the building.
Well, they politely cheered at first. Then they asked him about the team he actually plays for, which is in another city, so they all boo. Now, all I can think is, why is this happening? Why did they bring out a football player to talk about football? He plugs his new team, all the great players they signed. They went 4-12 that year, by the way. Now, the connection with all this, besides the fact that he's wrestled before, he reveals his ex-teammate and ex-roommate is a man named Bill Goldberg. At the mention of this name, Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude arrive. They tell him to get out of there.
Dude, they could not have arrived quicker.
They should have been out
This
there 3
went
minutes
on
earlier.
forever.
Hey, say you're not going to make a name at our expense, you big musclehead, and it's a trap, so Giant could jump Green from behind. They triple teamed him and left him lying, and then Green fought to his feet, called Giant a fat boy, and chased after him.
So Vinny has not seen Raw, but Big Cass, Kurt Angle does this thing at the end of the show, and he brings out Big Cass and Enzo and the Revival and the Big Show. And Enzo has claimed, I got jumped from behind by a guy who hit me really hard. And he's accused the Big Show. And so Kurt Angle brings the Big Show down the ring, and he says, Big Show, just asking, are you the guy that attacked Big Cass? Big Show is so offended that Kurt Angle, he cannot believe that Kurt Angle would accuse him, even think of accusing him. I'm thinking about this during this segment. One of like 9 million sneak attacks by the Big Show over a career where he turned 32 times. No shit, he didn't trust you.
No. So backstage after the break, Green was being held back from the NWO, and eventually Dylan shows up and says, you guys can wrestle tonight. And I did like that Mongo, Kevin Green's old enemy, was one of the guys holding him back.
Well, Kevin Green couldn't even remember because in the promo he's talking about coming back and seeing his old friends like Mongo.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. So remember when the same company called Len Denton Lynn, so the next wrestler was named Tokoyo Magnum.
Tokoyo.
Yeah.
So this wasn't Tokyo Magnum.
This is a different
That's
guy.
why it was so bad. Okay. He
Usually
was horrible.
gotta-
Yeah, he's terrible.
He wasn't terrible.
I thought it was just your basic match your basic Japanese match where the veteran beats up the young boy. Young guy gets a little bit of offense at the end, and then now Yuji hit an exploder and then a Nagata lock for the win.
All I know is this means that the Ultimo Dragon Tokyo Magnum squash is coming.
Yes.
And that it was the greatest squash I'd ever seen up to that point in time.
I like that there's 2 Japanese guys and a Japanese manager out there, and the crowd's chanting USA.
Well,
Yep.
there is that. They were in Jacksonville.
It was Jacksonville. They cut backstage where Stevie Ray had laid Chris Benoit out. Raven video package, pointless.
You know what? It was pointless, but Raven should be thanking Bray Wyatt because Bray Wyatt's promos are just so rambling and meandering, and I have no idea what he's talking about, that I have a new appreciation for Raven doing the same thing.
But he's much better at it.
At least I know what he's talking about.
He said you had to be cruel to be kind.
Yeah, I understood every word he said.
Okay.
There was no mumbo jumbo.
Are you ready for a parade of terrible wrestling matches?
Oh,
Dude.
my God.
Public Enemy versus Sick Boy and Horace.
My
Where to
favorite
begin?
kind of match. I'll
Hold on.
begin.
Here's all you have to say. Sick Boy was the best guy in this match.
Yes, that is true.
This was one of those matches that it starts out as a hardcore match, and then it breaks down into a wrestling match with legal tags.
But then it turns back into a hardcore match.
They beat on Rocco for like 10 years, and they just beat him and beat him and beat him. Breaks down into the most wretched four-way. They're doing these god-awful Three Stooges spots. Horace is
Made the same comparison.
Yep, Horace is going to hit Johnny with a stop sign, but as he pulls it back, he hits Rocco.
Stop right there.
Yeah.
This goes back to a Buddy Wayne story. I know I've told it on this show before. I know we're late. Well, I'll try to make this quick. I'm teaming with Rod Coles against Buddy Wayne and Richie Magnet. Buddy's laying out the match. They're going to get the heat on Rod. And he says, all right, the cutoff will be Richie will have your arms. I'll come off the ropes. You'll move. I'll hit Richie, and you go tag.
This is the one.
Rod Coles raises his hand in the air. And Buddy stops, and he says, yes. And Rod says, if he's got my arms, how am I going to move? And Buddy looks at him, and blinks again and says, he'll let you go because it's fake. Now, here's why I bring this up. Horace has a stop sign. Sick Boy has, I believe, grunge. He's got his arms, just like Richie had Rod Coles. So Horace goes to swing the sign, and grunge goes to dodge, but Sick Boy, apparently this was not fake, because he doesn't let him go. So grunge is trying to dodge, the sign's coming down, both guys get hit. It's just an absolute disaster.
It was so bad, they did it again, and it got screwed up again.
Holy fuck. Did we mention, by the way, the time grunge tried a Japanese arm drag? All Horace has to do is run at him, jump, flip over, land on your back.
Too hard of a task.
Horace runs at him, jumps, kind of goes sort of horizontal and comes right down on his face.
Dude.
It's so horrendous. Rocco pinned Horace with a dive of some kind.
He did a high cross off the top as Horace was holding a stop sign. He hit the stop sign, which hit Horace, and then he pinned him. And then I fucking could not believe my eyes. The most horrible match you ever saw in your whole life. I mean, just god-awful. Rocco wins, and the place goes crazy.
I don't know what to
And
tell
they're
you.
putting their hands in the air, and they're doing the dance. And I'm like, what is happening?
This was not the worst match in the show.
Oh, no. Oh, no. It was not.
Mean Gene brings Bret Hart out for a promo.
Okay, so whoever was on Twitter and said that only Bret Hart could pull off a leather jacket, a t-shirt, and bike shorts. They were wrong. What was he wearing?
He was wearing very short shorts, sneakers, and like white socks that went almost halfway up his calf. He did not look cool.
No F's were given.
No, he was done.
He runs down Benoit as a snot-nosed punk. You only got a career because me and my family gave you a chance. He promised he'd beat Benoit later.
Do you know that this was allegedly the very first match Bret Hart and Chris Benoit ever had together?
That's what they claimed.
Dude.
I can't prove otherwise. Goldberg versus Ric Fuller.
The best part of this is, like, the match is a minute, so there wasn't a lot to remember. Ric Fuller needs to remember, I'm going to spear you, and you take a bump.
Yeah.
Probably didn't even have to add, you take a bump. Goldberg fucking spears this guy, and he just stands there. So Goldberg, without missing a beat, grabs him, lifts him as high as he can in the air, and just slams him down.
It was great.
Ric Fuller is gigantic.
Oh, yeah.
Greatest sidewalk slam you've ever seen in your life.
It was the best botched spear ever. It came off better because it was screwed up. And then Goldberg hit a jackhammer and won. Crowd loved it.
A delight.
Footage of fans being geeks is scattered all over the show. Cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Am I the only one?
No.
Okay. Speaking of cringeworthy, the Wolfpack come out for a promo. Middle-aged men are in the crowd wearing baseball caps with wolf ears. Dignity died in the 1990s. So Nash gets off a line about how...
Hold on, I gotta talk about Sting first.
All right.
Sting comes out, and him and Nash are the champions. And he comes out, and he issues a challenge to Giant and, I guess, a partner or whatever.
Really, he said any team.
Yeah. So he goes, I'm issuing a challenge here to blah, 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 blah. And then he stands there. And then he stands there. And then he says, and I quote, "That's it. We made a challenge." That was the end of his promo.
Yeah.
And then finally Nash jumps in to just do his catchphrase.
We're too sweet.
Nobody gave a shit during this period.
No, they were told, go out and do whatever you want for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Nash
he probably
is out
made
there-
his challenge, and he thought they'd play his music, and they didn't, and he stood there, and he's like, that's it, I made my challenge.
Played the
Hello?
music.
They had a blow-up doll out there for no reason. Nash says Goldberg killed Kenny. I don't know if that's just a South Park joke.
Yes.
Or if there's actually a man named Ken Goldberg killed backstage. It's just so... Like, it was so pointless and
It was
bad,
so stupid.
but it was fun because it was so pointless
Yeah, it
and
was
bad.
fun if you don't care that they're dying.
This was fun in the way, like, if you made an indie access wrestling show or a YouTube wrestling show, this is the quality of thing you would put on.
Dude, I made a lot of those. They were not this bad.
That's true. Alex Wright versus Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie so could not possibly have cared less about having to have a match with Alex Wright. He did absolutely nothing. He completely didn't care. And the match was as boring as any Eddie Guerrero match you've ever seen in your life. And then he loses.
Yeah. Chavo comes out. Well, now you know why Eddie was not motivated here in this match with Alex Wright. Chavo comes out with a microphone being a cheerleader. Do it the Guerrero way, he says. And then Alex hits a neck breaker and he says, no, that's not the Guerrero way. So Alex wins. Chavo tells Eddie, keep your head up. And as Alex is leaving, Chavo waves and says, bye, German guy. This is my favorite performance of Chavo Guerrero's career.
Dave said this was the best promo on the show, and I was like, at first I just thought, what is the fuck is he talking about? Then I thought about the whole rest of the show. Actually, the DDP promo was definitely better, but it was slim pickings.
Conan versus Scotty Riggs.
Fans were bored.
As long as Riggs was on offense, it was okay. Mm-hmm. When Conan was on offense, I don't know what happened. Scotty looked like he'd never touched a guy before. Like he never grappled or sold anything. Everything Conan tried to do, Riggs was actively fighting him. It was very bad. It went on a long time. Eventually, Riggs missed a dropkick, and Conan hooked the Tequila Sunrise for the win. Clips of the Hogan, Rodman, Paige, Malone press conference finally aired. So they've got all these photographers, all these reporters, all this mainstream media, and they're all just treating it like the biggest joke you ever saw.
Just giggling and laughing.
Cackling about how silly it all is. It didn't help that at no point did any of these four men really act like you believe they would fight each other. They're laughing with each other, smiling for group photos. They had the least tense shoving match you ever saw. All I can think of watching this was people bought this show.
Yep.
Okay.
May I begin?
Please.
Okay. The fucking match is Steve Mongo McMichael against Stevie Ray.
It sure is.
Somebody not only booked this match, but said, you guys got 10 minutes.
They went 6, but there was a commercial.
It was 10 minutes live. So, I believe this is what happened. I'm pretty sure that Stevie Ray must have just gone to the back and said, so, just do whatever you want for 3 minutes, and then I'll cut you off and get the heat, and then do whatever you want till we go to the finish. Because Mongo was just doing a bunch of shit. And Stevie Ray did nothing but sell for every stupid, goofy thing that Mongo did. I have never seen so much hesitation in the middle of a match. Am I wrong?
No.
They were constantly, a guy would do something, and then the other guy would wait, but the other guy wouldn't do anything, and then he'd do something over and over and over again.
This looked phony.
Everything they did was fucked
It
up.
was so horrible. It was so miserably bad.
Hideous.
As soon as they came out, I just screamed.
Yeah.
I was filled with joy at the beginning.
It sunk below my expectations.
The first minute was really fun because they hit each other really hard.
That is true.
And then for whatever reason, Mongo tried like this jumping kick.
Yeah.
He did like a pirouette.
There
and then
were
threw out
so
his heel.
many kicks in this match. Mongo versus Stevie Ray out there doing karate.
Yes. It went on and on and on and on. At no point was it ever any good. So then, Stevie grabs a chair. Benoit runs out and grabs the chair away. Booker T arrives. He takes the chair from Benoit. Booker T and Stevie Ray have a chat. And then they leave, and they are counted out.
That's
Are you fucking kidding me? I had to sit through all this bullshit.
for that.
And the payoff is a walkout.
Yeah.
Stevie decided he didn't want to wrestle after all.
They weren't even
Yeah.
mad. They just strolled out. It was cordial. It's cool, man. We're out.
This
It was This was the worst thing in the entire history of the Monday Night Wars.
It was such
I'm pretty sure.
horseshit.
Up to this point.
Oh, my God.
It was awful.
Hogan and company came out for a promo. They laugh about breaking Savage's leg. Hogan,
Yeah, let's talk about his crew, by the way. Hulk Hogan,
This crew.
Eric Bischoff, the fucking Booty Man, Scott Steiner with no charisma yet, and Liz.
Yeah. And Vincent.
That's his crew.
Don't forget Vincent.
And they
I
wonder
did forget
why.
Vincent.
And they wonder why everybody cheered the red and black Wolfpack.
And then Hulk Hogan calls him, and I quote,
Yep.
DDP, the little PP.
Yes. Fighting words.
He was inferring that DDP had a small penis, Brian.
No, he was a little PP.
Oh,
He didn't say with a little PP. He said DDP, the little PP. He called him a small dick. But not even in a cool way.
There's a cool way to do that.
And then Hogan's talking about how he has killer whales for pets.
I don't know.
That is illegal.
I don't know. He says Paige is only famous because he's Kimberly's husband. And Karl Malone is the biggest loser ever to make the playoffs. So I checked. Karl Malone lost 95 playoff games. It was a record at the time. So Hogan was right about one thing. Hogan told the truth one time in his career. And it was that. So let's see. Hogan runs his mouth for a while. They show the footage of them attacking Savage. I don't know when this happened, but it was in a cage match. And they hit
Dude, it was on Nitro 2 weeks ago, you geek.
Yeah.
yeah, but it was from the pay-per-view.
I see.
No, I don't think... Oh, actually, it was from the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But they did show it on Nitro.
So they hit Savage in the knee with a chair and broke his leg. Had a clip from Thunder with Bret Hart trying to recruit Benoit into the NWO. Then we had Hart versus Benoit for the first time ever on this show.
Dude, the lockup and opening arm drag was better than everything else on this entire show put together.
That's fair.
You cannot call what Benoit and Bret Hart were doing the same art form as
No,
what
it
Public
wasn't.
Enemy or Stevie Ray were doing.
And it was amazing because they start wrestling, and it's Chris Benoit and Bret Hart, who are not main eventers. I mean, Bret kind of is, but I mean, he's just, he does nothing on this show.
He's
They go out there and they have nothing but like a Calgary-style wrestling match. Everybody in the crowd is on their feet because they realize we're seeing something special here.
Oh, yeah.
In the
We're
middle of
actu-
this bullshit clown show.
We're actually watching wrestling on our wrestling show.
really good. So, let's see. Stevie Ray comes out and distracts the ref. Hart lays Benoit out from behind, and I didn't realize it live, but he had a gimmick. He lays him out with a gimmick. The ref's back is turned. Bret doesn't want to be caught with a gimmick, you see. So he pulls Benoit on top of him. So the ref will not realize that, something weird happened. So Bret kicks out of this, and then he puts the unconscious Benoit on the sharpshooter. And the ref checks for the tap out, and Benoit's out, so Bret wins.
Dave hated this finish at the time, but after another 19 years of fucking god-awful finishes, I was like, that's a good finish. That was a really good finish right there.
When I saw it on replay, it was even better because Bret clonks him with the gimmick. He pulls the gimmick out of his knee pad, clonks him in the back of the head, drags Benoit on top of him, and then as the ref is counting, he sticks the gimmick into Benoit's tights and then kicks out.
Well,
Awesome.
He tried to. The gimmick ended up on the mat.
After the sharpshooter.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's see. That was it. Bret won. In all seriousness, I think the gap between Bret and Benoit and Steve, the bad stuff in the show, is like the biggest gap of all time between the best match on the show and the worst match on the same show. It's high in the running. I don't know if there's ever been a 5-star match and a -5-star match in the same show. That's about what it would take. Mm-hmm. Kevin Green versus Giant in the main event. They wrestled for a minute, and Rude and Hennig attacked for the DQ.
Can you imagine?
Yes.
Can you imagine?
We've seen it like 5 times now. So, Black and White, except Hogan, all run down to attack. Goldberg comes out to make the save. He spears Vincent in the aisle, double spears Disciple and Bryan Adams in the ring. Then everyone else leaves. Then Green recovers, and I believe he challenged Giant to find a partner and face himself and Goldberg in a tag match.
That's what
It
happens.
is going to be Green and Goldberg. I thought it was Giant and Hennig, but it may just be Giant and any partner.
Bash at the beach.
Bash at the beach, but yeah.
So there you go.
Rodman, Malone, and Kevin Green all wrestling on the same show.
Unbelievable.
Main event.
Green's forgotten.
Yeah.
And it's not his first time, so I get it, but wow. Yeah, that is a lot of outside sports star power.
I mean, I gotta say, if you're gonna go back and watch any of this, like watch the Mongo match, just so you can understand how bad a professional wrestling match can actually be, and then watch the end of the show because Benoit and Bret Hart was awesome, and as bad as the match was, Goldberg comes out here at the end, and it's like, this is the only thing that makes this company feel like it's hot. Like, every time Goldberg comes out, it feels like the hottest company in the whole world. Like, it feels hotter than anything WWE does when Goldberg's out there.
Yeah.
When he ain't out there, it's a mess.
Let me ask you something. You think that the Goldberg chants were piped in?
Well, Dave said they were, but they seemed real to me.
They seemed very phony to me.
Really? Well, if they seemed phony, then they probably were phony.
It is possible, but even if they were, these people were all standing for the moment.
That's true.
Yeah, it's possible it was both.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, before we go, Matt, you want to do any...
WCW Monday Nitro, June 29th, 1989, Tampa, Florida, from the Ice Palace.
Can we just start with the beginning?
Right off the bat.
They announced that DDP and Karl Malone are on their way. They left 4 days ago.
From Salt Lake City, Utah.
From Salt Lake City, Utah, driving a semi-truck.
That's the only way to go.
Why? Why did they drive to this show? And why did they drive to this show in a semi-truck?
There's
Can
nothing better.
anybody explain to me?
There's nothing better than to doing a cross-country road trip in the East.
In the what?
In the East in June. Salt Lake to Florida.
Okay, yeah, so heading east.
Yes, heading east where it is sweltering.
But hey, they were in a
semi-truck.
semi-truck, dude. I'm sure it had great AC and a hell of an AM radio. This is the stupidest thing I ever saw in my life. Why?
I wonder what Karl Malone's handle was on the CB radio.
Mailman 316, I'm sure.
Okay. Oh, boy. Anyway, Gene Okerlund brings out Kevin Green, who traveled with them, I guess.
This was another nightmare of a show. Except one was like a great nightmare. The other was a terrible nightmare.
Anyway, Green is all jacked up. He's talking about the upcoming tag team match at Bash of the Beach with Bill Goldberg against the Giant and what's his name?
Yeah, what's that other guy's name, he says? And at first I thought, okay, so you're doing the thing where you pretend like you don't know the guy's name.
No.
But he said it so sincerely that I'm confident that Kevin Green had no idea who Kurt Hennig was.
He had no clue who Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig was. That was called a faux pas. Anyway, we're off to a great start. First match in, we got Kanyon versus Horace.
Hey, this was better than a lot of their openers lately.
That's true. You know what? Horace had the dirt worst match on last week's show, and this one was...
It was good.
Moderately good.
It was a good match. Horace actually hit a tope.
He did.
Kanyon did all of his moves.
All of them.
And he beat Horace. And it was totally fine.
Kanyon made a comeback with a swinging neckbreaker out of a fireman's carry into a flapjack and a flatliner for the win. It went 407. After the match, Billy Kidman and Sick Boy attack Kanyon, and he dispatches of them quickly, but Riggs hit the ring and got the upper hand. This brought out Raven, and he walks in and delivers the even flow DDT. There you go.
Kanyon was a stupid babyface here. He laid out the flock and then turned and paraded around to the fans, and they jumped him again.
Right.
What an idiot. He was dumb in this match.
They show clips of the Big Rig making their way to the arena.
Oh,
apparently they were in another state when the show started, I guess.
Dude, I don't know what was going on. They I don't know. I can't even explain it. It was so stupid, but here's what we got to get to. The NWO is backstage. They're passing around crowbars.
Mm-hmm.
They are planning a crime.
Yeah.
Backstage here on national television. When these guys get here, they're going to meet them with crowbars. They're going to beat the shit out of them, and they're going to destroy the semi-truck.
With crowbars.
This was on television.
Mm-hmm.
This planning of this crime.
Right.
Well, keep that in mind, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Because the payoff is amazing. So then we have clips of DDP explaining that he and Karl Malone were driving this 18-wheeler from Salt Lake City to Tampa, Florida, and the semi-truck was full of steel chairs.
Is that what they said?
That's what they said.
Wow.
And then, by the way...
You know, you need to get some extra seats there at the Bash of the Beach.
Sure. By the way, the announcers kept bringing back this during the show. I wonder what's in the truck the whole time after they said
because they don't know what's going on. Just like me when I watch this show.
Okay, they cut to NWO locker room. They're handing out the crowbars here.
Let's talk about Gene with Stevie Ray.
Stevie Ray.
Stevie was absolutely horrendous in the ring, as we were going to see later, but I loved his promos. Loved him. And he said that him and Booker wanted a match with Benoit and McMichael tonight.
Right.
And he says, we're going to see Harlem Heat at their very best.
Right.
And I thought, so you're not in the match?
Sick burn.
But he was in the match.
He was. Well, he was there physically. Then get Eddie Guerrero versus Little Dragon. This was Dragon Kid from Dragon Gate.
Yep, 6 months into his career.
There were
6 months into his career.
There were 5.
There were 5 Ultimo Dragon students on this
Right.
show. All geeks.
I wish I could.
Every one of them was portrayed as a complete geek.
I'll give you that. They were portrayed as such.
Although Little Dragon did beat Eddie Guerrero because of Chavo and this goddamn stick horse.
Pepe.
This was the beginning of the end for Chavo. It was over from this point forward.
So anyway, Eddie had the match pretty much done. He went up for the frog splash. Chavo comes down to the ring riding the stick horse Pepe. This annoys Eddie and most of the viewers, and he grabs Pepe away from Chavo. This results in a tug of war over Pepe. The Little Dragon rolls up Eddie for the win.
People in wrestling love these gimmicks where a guy's crazy, but it always kills the guy.
Hey,
Like this was utter death, this goddamn stick horse gimmick.
they gave Saturn a mop.
Well, it's coming up later. It killed him too.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, Chavo calls Eddie a horse thief. Comedy. Eddie beats up the Little Dragon with the horse and tosses him and Dragon out of the ring. Now Eddie chases Chavo to the back of the locker room, and Chavo gets on the horse and rides away. How this didn't kill Eddie in his career?
Because it was Chavo riding the horse, not Eddie.
Yeah, but still.
And Eddie was talented.
We then get Giant. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Missed something. Backstage, a camera has spotted Chris Jericho talking to Ultimate Dragon.
Jericho so clearly no longer gave a shit.
Nope.
He literally starts by saying, we're in a secret room and no one else is here.
Except the cameraman.
Cameraman filming them to national television. He does not give a shit. And
Why would he?
he says if Dragon beats up Dean Malenko tonight and destroys him, he'll give him a title match Thursday.
On Thunder, yes. We then have the Giant with Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude versus Judo Suwa and Sumo Fuji. Good enough?
Yeah.
Close enough?
Judo Suwa and Sumo Fuji.
Thank you. Anyway, this went 47 seconds and Giant won with a double choke slam.
Geeks.
Yeah, it was sad. Kurt Hennig picked up the mic and threatens Bill Goldberg and Kevin Green to come down to the ramp. Hennig calls him a big, dumb football player, and Green makes the charge, but as he takes off running, Goldberg steps out. They both hit the ring. Hennig bumps for Green's shoulder tackle. I put in quotes because I don't know what he did. He just hit him with his body.
That's a tackle. I don't even watch football, I can tell you that. He tackled him.
He killed him.
Yeah, cool.
Anyway, Rick Rude nails him from behind. As soon as Goldberg steps into the ring, everybody powders. Amazing. That's how you book a babyface. Hogan was out next to talk about DDP and Karl Malone.
Hogan comes out and he says, hey, NWO's in the back, fixing to vandalize and destroy DDT, he said.
Yes, he did.
DDT and Malone's semi-truck. His voice is gone. I mean, they were trying to hype up the bash. You know what? It was weird because, it's the same thing we see every week, but there was something about this combination of Hogan and Rodman versus DDP and Karl Malone that, no matter how bad the show was, no matter how much people did or didn't care about Hogan, they were into this fucking match. That Tonight Show segment we're going to talk about here in a while, It didn't matter. They were into this match, and they bought it. A lot of them. It was a huge success. Right guys, right time.
Anyway, Hogan refers to Dennis Rodman as Black Jesus, and he said it didn't matter because he would take out both Karl Malone and DDT tonight, and that's the bottom line because people worship and love him for life because he's just too sweet. Okay. And then the show hit a low.
May I?
Absolutely, it's your show.
This match was Luger and Sting versus the Anvil and the Bulldog. Luger and the Anvil took forever to do anything. And I was so infuriated.
Mm-hmm.
But then they actually did something.
Right.
And I was like, could you have just kept not doing anything?
Right.
They couldn't do a thing together. Then Sting and Bulldog stalled forever. Somehow the fans were still into the show at this point. Anvil was so beyond horrible. Like, they did a double clothesline spot. Anybody can do this. You run into each other, you both put out an arm, you both fall down.
Correct.
Anvil fucked it up. And they both go down, and then the weirdest thing happened, which I watched like 5 times. I still can't explain it.
Mm-hmm.
They do a double clothesline, and they're both down. And Luger's on his back, and Anvil's on his back. And then Anvil slowly starts to roll over.
Uh-huh.
And I could not for the life of me figure out what was supposed to happen.
Right.
But something went wrong, and Anvil tags the Bulldog, and Lex Luger, I swear to God, he stops selling, he stands up,
Yes.
he looks over at Anvil with the most disgusted look you've ever seen, and he just tags in Sting.
I called this an annoyed hot tag.
I mean, think this is Lex Luger. He's no Ric Flair.
No.
Lex Luger has had his share of average and below average matches. But Anvil was so bad that even Lex Luger broke character on national television with the disgust he had for this man. He tags Sting, Sting runs wild, pins Davey with the Scorpion Death Drop. I swear to God, up until an hour later,
Yes.
Anvil was the worst wrestler I'd ever seen in a match.
Absolutely.
That changed. And
It
let me
did.
tell you something. If you would have told me after this match that there was going to be a worse performance on this show, I would have told you, no, it's impossible. No matter how bad anybody could be on the show, there's no way they could be worse than Anvil. I was wrong. But we'll get to that later.
By the way, this cluster went 8 minutes and 6 seconds.
It was the worst until later.
We then got Saturn versus Reese, and I scoffed at this match to begin with. I said, this is going to suck. And it wasn't that bad.
That's because you just watched The Anvil.
I'll give you
If
that.
you had not just watched The Anvil, this was horrible.
But the way that Saturn got to Reese and muscled him around. Reese, by the way, there was a point where Reese was on his knees and he was just as tall as Perry Saturn. Anyway, Reese picked him up for a press slam from his knees. So imagine that. Reese is on his knees. He picks him up and press slams him. This was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Reese works the backbreaker. Saturn comes back with a missile drop kick. He kicks Lodi off the apron and then hoists up Reese for a Death Valley driver. It was awesome.
Saturn's manhandling of this tall man was impressive, but
Yes.
Reese's selling was absolutely like... You could get any geek that likes wrestling but has never been in the ring, and I know they could sell better than Reese.
That's
And you know what? Reese was better than Anvil.
Yeah. And how long had Reese been in the business?
God damn this show.
Anyway, after the bell, the flock hit the ring. Saturn fends them all off until Horace hits him with a slam and Kidman splashes him from the top. Raven cuts a promo on Saturn saying his dad was abusive and it was all Saturn's own fault. And then Raven hit him with an even flow DDT. I'm sensing a pattern here from Mr. Raven. They then took us back to Monday Nitro when Kurt Hennig and the Giant attacked Kevin Green to set up the big match for the Bash at the Beach. Then we got the debuting El Vampiro.
You know, I read The Observer about this match, and Dave said, Vampiro's kicks looked great. I was like, no shit, he kicked the guy right in the face.
He busted his lip open with a kick.
Brad's bleeding all over from this kick.
How could it not look great when you make contact?
Other than that, Vampiro looked really good.
He did, and very lean.
Good. He looked good. He took good bumps. His kicks did, in fact, look good, except when they broke the guy's face.
Right.
And the Michinoku driver finish was awesome.
Michinoku driver 2, which he calls the nail in the coffin, 2 minutes, 26 seconds.
Should have called it the stake through the heart.
That would have been better, Brian.
Thank you.
You should do something right or something. And then I don't know why, but I really love this match. Alex Wright and Disco Inferno.
You did?
I laughed. They wrestled Tokyo Magnum and Shimu Naka. Help me out, Brian.
Shima Nobunaga. It's Shima.
Yes.
From
Shima.
Dragon Gate.
C-I-M-A. Shima.
Yes.
That's
but
what
this was before he changed it to capital C-I-M-A.
Yes. And that's what I'm going to call him throughout this report because I can say Shima.
Sure.
Anyway, again, the Ultimate Dragons students here. Alex Wright and Disco.
You know what you got to think about here?
Tell me, Brian.
This was a squash match featuring Disco Inferno destroying Magnum Tokyo and Shima.
Tokyo Magnum. Right.
It's actually Magnum Tokyo.
But they called him Tokyo Magnum.
I realize that. They also called him Shima Nobunaga, but you're not going to call him that, so I'll call this guy Magnum Tokyo.
Fair enough. Anyway, Alex and Disco both get separate entrances, but they kind of combine their music. It was weird. They come in the ring and they dance, and then Tokyo Magnum says, I have an idea. I'm going to join in. And I laughed. There was 3 geeks dancing in the ring, but then the 2 heels looked at Tokyo dancing and said, well, enough of this, and they beat him up. So they clean house so they can dance by themselves. Some pretty good action here, especially from the Dragon Gate students. Shima and Wright did some great mat wrestling to start off this match. Shima lands a nice springboard senton on Disco. Wright saves the pin with a missile drop kick. Tag to Wright, who plants Shima with a reverse neck breaker for the 3 count. Went 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I liked this match. It was fun.
It was all right. The crowd's dead at this point.
Oh yeah, the crowd for the last 3 matches have been absolutely dead, and they don't pop until the end of the show, unfortunately.
Let me take over for a little while.
Please.
Dean Malenco, Ultimo Guerrero, or Ultimo Dragon. So the crowd was trying to love this match.
Well, it was good.
It was really good for like a minute. The show is just like so horrible. And finally there's an opportunity to have a good match. And what do? They have Jericho come out, say something about Dean's dead father, and Dean chase him to the back and is counted out. Yeah,
it was sad.
Absolute shit finish.
Yeah, Dragon set up for the Super Hurricane Rana. Malenko turned it into a Super Gut Buster, and that's when Jericho came out and distracted Dean. So,
and now we had Booker T and Stevie Ray.
You missed something.
I'm sure it was important. Yes.
They showed clips from Thunder, and there was a spy camera, and the other 2 announcers blamed it on Tenay. There's a conversation going on between Benoit and Arn Anderson. Benoit wants to keep the 4 horsemen together. Anderson is not hearing it and saying, no, it needs to be put to bed.
That was not more important than this match.
I'll give you that.
I deliberately didn't even mention that.
Okay.
Booker T and Stevie Ray are facing Chris Benoit and Mongo.
By the way, not referred to as Harlem Heat. Ever once. They didn't. On the graphics, it read Booker T, Stevie Ray. It never read Harlem Heat.
Craig, you're driving me crazy. You're obsessing about bullshit. Let's get to the important thing here. Booker T and Stevie Ray against Benoit and Steve McMichael. Now, first off, you have Booker T and Chris Benoit in a match together. Right?
Right.
And then you have Stevie Ray and Mongo in a match together.
Right.
Why? Who was responsible for what happened in this match? First, they put Chris Benoit in there with Stevie Ray.
Right.
Now, listen, Benoit was a great worker. He wasn't that great.
That's fair.
Like, if you can't have a good series with Chris Benoit, like, I don't know what to tell you. So it's horrible. Then Mongo tags in. They get the heat on Steve Mongo McMichael. Now, Mongo can do some things well. He's a very enthusiastic talker.
Sure.
And when he's just like tackling guys like it's a football field, he's very good. But let me tell you what he's not good at. Selling. They put this guy in there. First, it's Booker versus Mongo. It's hideous. Then it's Stevie Ray versus Mongo.
More hideous.
Which is fucking horrifying. And finally, in the middle of this match, like, Mongo got so completely lost.
Yes.
He's in there with Booker T. I believe that Booker T was supposed to hit like maybe he was going to go for a spin kick and Mongo was supposed to duck underneath. But what happens is he goes for the damn spin kick and he hits Mongo. Mongo takes the worst bump I've ever seen in my life.
I wrote here that I've never before and never since have I seen a man fall as hard as Mongo does.
Because he got hit and he wasn't ready for it.
No,
and his brain thought, I just got to hit the deck.
Even his bumps, they look so hard for him.
Yeah, because he doesn't know what he's doing. He fucking collapses to the mat. They try another spot. Mongo is like on another planet. He doesn't know where he's at or what he's doing.
Might have been legit.
Taking the most horrible bumps you ever saw. And finally, they just send out Brett. And he comes out. He hits Booker behind the ref's back. Mongo gets the pin.
Yes, he does.
Steve Mongo McMichael, I swear to God, he was the worst wrestler I have ever seen in this match. Before, after, he was just bad. But in this match, I have never seen somebody as bad as he was in this match. I'm even talking like Survivor, Jenna, and Charmel, and whoever the absolute dirt worst jobbers we see on those NWA World Championship Wrestling shows. Steve Mongo McMichael surpassed everybody in terms of just an inability to do anything resembling professional wrestling. It was so bad.
It was really bad.
It was so bad. This will be the picture on the front page when I upload this show today. the freeze frame of Mongo taking whatever it was that he took after Booker hit him with that move.
Yes. Which is funny because you had two of the best wrestlers in WCW and honestly two of the worst in the same match.
Honestly, two of the worst. I mean, except for Anvil.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the two worst. And I will tell you, Stevie's better than Anvil. So, Mongo and Anvil are the two worst wrestlers in this company. I couldn't believe this. I couldn't believe WWE didn't just edit this off this Nitro episode for the sake of this business.
So then we get clips in the back. Jericho is trying to back out of the promise that he made with Ultimo Dragon to give him a cruiserweight title match on Thunder. He explained that I said if you beat Dean Malenko, you could have the match. You didn't beat him. Jericho claims that Dragon didn't get the job done. And then from out of nowhere, Dean flies into the dressing room, throws Jericho up against some lockers, and starts kicking the crap out of him. And then he turns around and sees Dragon, and he decides to beat him up too. And then Jericho flees, and Dean gives chase.
You know, I'm a big Jericho fan, but he was jumping the shark here. Like, the running and the screaming.
Screaming's a little much.
And just this feud that will never end with Dean Malenko. Like, it just keeps going. Like, where is it going? I'm over it now. And it just keeps going. And the screams as he runs away. He's like, Jericho's turning into a parody of himself on this show. I know he doesn't care, like nobody cares.
Yeah.
But
it worked for him.
Yeah, but my thought would be, like, if you don't care, you're still trying to get hired by the other company, and him running away from Dean Malenko and screaming, I'm sure that when he came to WWE and he had all of his critics, it was because they were watching this shit, and not him having great matches.
And by the way, we haven't even got into Ralphus yet.
No.
So next up, it was something called NWO Late Hour. It's basically a spoof on the David Letterman talk show, Johnny Carson, whatever.
Leno.
Because
they were setting up for Leno to come in.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, your host, Eric Bischoff, who's accompanied by the beautiful Elizabeth. Band is playing in the background. The set looks, I wrote, expensive.
$70,000.
Good grief.
$70,000.
So Eric's guest tonight was Scott Steiner. I'm pretty sure Scott Steiner has gone up a shirt size in the last week.
Gone down a shirt size.
No, he went up because his shoulders are massive.
He went up, but his shirt size went down. That's the gimmick.
Yes, he was wearing a schmedium.
Now, here's the deal with Scott Steiner. This was historic. This segment was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely god-awful. But this was the week that he finally figured out how to be Big Papa Pump.
Yeah, that's true.
If you watched last week's show where he was on the movie set and he was just so shy and so quiet and they were trying different gimmicks like he's Hollywood Scott Steiner and all these other things they did, he totally hadn't got it yet. But on this show, like, snap your fingers, he figured it out. It went way too long. It absolutely died a death. But Scott Steiner was absolutely 1,000 times better here than he was the week before.
Right.
And then it was off to the races for this guy.
So they make fun of Karl Malone being on Rogaine commercials. Steiner talks about his next movie project. He said he'll show us his new co-star next week. Apparently they're doing this again because next week's edition of NWO Late Hour will appear.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah. I wrote, this is Eric Bischoff jerking off into a ceiling fan.
The irony of Scott Steiner making fun of another guy for Rogaine commercials was not lost on me. Booker T comes out to talk with Gene about Brett. He says he challenged Brett to a match, and then Stevie Ray steps in and tries to save his little brother. Stevie Ray thinks that Booker has gone soft and wonders why Booker just doesn't jump him in the streets like they used to do. Booker says he wants Brett in the middle of the ring to show the people that he is the best there is. Stevie Ray wants him to forget about the people. Brett shows up, accepts the challenge. He says, but he'll only make the match at Bash at the Beach with the TV title on the line. Booker accepts, so we get Brett and Booker at Bash at the Beach for the TV title. Then cut backstage to the NWO locker room. Hogan is venting to Bischoff, saying he's very upset that DDP and Karl Malone aren't going to show up tonight. He says it doesn't look like the semi's going to get here in time. Bischoff assures him that it's going to be like a night off. Don't worry about it, champ. And then our wrestling main event. Bill Goldberg, 104-0, versus Glacier. You know, they had Buffer out there doing the ring introductions, and normally I would fast forward the ring introductions, but I had to hear what he had to say about Glacier and Goldberg.
Got a introduction from Michael Buffer.
Yeah, but it was lame.
It was.
Like, actually, he had nothing to say. He just gave him his height and weight.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even say, like, from the North Pole or whatever he would have said. And then I was disappointed because it wasn't nearly as good as their last match. Goldberg sold too much.
Yeah.
And then just muscled him up, speared him, and jackhammered him. That's kind of lame.
He did hit like this crazy slam. Like Glacier got these really decent kicks in. And then in the middle of the kick, like Goldberg got him up and he went for like just a sidewalk slam, but Glacier was in this like weird position where his one leg was under his arm and the other leg was over his head, and Goldberg just threw him down to the mat.
Yep.
Anyway, this was great. 2 minutes and 46 seconds. And then
You've heard that before.
your humor's lost on me.
Not on everyone
Just
else.
like my humor's lost on you. Anyway, Hollywood Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff stormed down to the ring. They claim that DDP and Karl Malone are no-showing tonight.
These guys desperately needed a Titantron.
Oh, yeah. He says, doesn't matter. They're going to get their butts kicked at Bash at the Beach. Just as this happens, DDP and Karl Malone pull up to the Ice Palace in their 18-wheeler. The rest of the NWO are waiting there with crowbars and pipes and chains, and they see Karl Malone and DDP get out of the truck, and they had steel chairs, and like all 7 of them dispatched.
They vanished.
They ran away from a 7-on-2 fight.
Geek of the week right here. All of the members of the NWO. They spent 3 hours concocting a plan where they all got giant iron crowbars, and they were going to beat the hell out of these guys and destroy their truck. Malone and DDP get out with a chair, and they flee.
Yeah.
This show is so terrible. It's horrible.
It's illogical.
But I will say, when DDP and Malone storm the ring, Hogan is such a cartoon character.
Yeah, he's great.
Like, more so than even Paul Bearer. He looks to the left. He looks to the right. He gives a wide-eyed look to the crowd. He pulls Eric Bischoff in front of him. He sacrifices Eric Bischoff, tossing him to DDP, who then just boots him out of the ring. He then finds out that he's all by himself.
He's trapped in the ring.
And you can say what you want about Hulk Hogan, but Hulk Hogan was a mark for celebrities, and he would sell for them. Malone grabs him in a standing head and arm choke, gives him a body slam, gives him 2 clotheslines, and Hogan powders, and the place is going absolutely crazy for this.
Yep.
And the crowd, Rodman and DDP, or I keep saying Rodman, Malone and DDP cut this promo, and the fans are into it.
Oh, yeah.
After this horrible show.
Oh, yeah.
And it really hit me that, God, this is why there have been 19 years of WWF, or it was WWF, WWF, WWE, WCW, all these promotions, TNA, trying to do stuff with celebrities. It's all because this one worked so big. And you know how many have worked big since this one? Virtually none of them. Tyson worked, Rodman and Malone worked, and keep in mind, they tried Rodman again later, and it didn't work at all. It's like the stars have to align with the right guys, the right time, the right level of superstar, the right storyline, and like 99 times out of 100, it doesn't work. But this one worked big time. They were so excited. Think about this. The match is Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman in a wrestling tag team match against DDP and Karl Malone.
At the beach.
Why should this get over?
It shouldn't.
But it did! And it got over huge, and the fans loved it, and this segment worked.
It really did.
As preposterous as it was, it worked.
To wrap it up, Malone tells Rodman that size does matter, and he should be expecting a diamond cutter in his near future. And he finishes off by stealing a saying I've heard somewhere before. He said, if you want some, come get some. And the show went off the air.
The 90s were all about cocks. You ever notice that? Like, all people talk about is their cocks, their balls. Like, DX is all about their sausages. Mm-hmm. Everyone's talking about how size matters. Like, Viagra just hit it big a few weeks earlier. Like, what is that? Why were they so popular in the 90s? What's changed?
You're thinking the penis has lost its It's glimmer. It's shimmer. You don't think it is not what it used to be?
Definitely not what he used to be.
Okay.
Alrighty, let's do a song and we'll wrap it up.
Please.